Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour, episode 116. And today, I am here with well, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, actually, because I don't want to butcher your name.
Oh no, it's all good. Thanks so much, man. I'm Nikhil with Shelf Esteem.
Yes. But you've had your hand in a lot of pies. You just recently started BookTube channel, well, about a year ago, but that's still pretty
Yeah.
recent. You're also a composer. I was kind of doing some like background research the other day, and
Oh,
I
cool.
saw you did some. Well, I've also watched other conversations you've had with people like Philip Chase, and um, you know, I think
Mike.
I did. I watched your Dear Doctor Fantasy with Philip Chase,
Oh,
and
that's wonderful. Yeah,
and
Philip is so lovely. I got a chance to watch yours as well. It's wonderful.
well,
Really
yeah,
great.
no, yeah, it was fun. I really felt like I made it that day as a booktuber because
That's
I'm
the
like,
BookTube rite of passage, right?
I know it's like that and Why Read from Joanna Reads
Oh yeah.
and like chatting with nuts. Like when I get on either of those shows, I'll be like, I've made it as a booktuber.
Yeah, totally. No, I love all those channels. For like you were saying, it's like I recently joined BookTube as a channel, but I've been watching it since 2019. I think it's when I first discovered it.
So you're like a
And,
long time like veteran of. So you were around when like Philip Chase was starting.
oh yeah, totally. I was around when Mike just started actually. Mike
Oh
from Mike's
wow.
Reviews. Yeah, I think I subbed him when he was like at maybe 1,000 or 2,000 subs or something. He was going through the Wheel of Time journey at that time, and in fact, I told Mike this too, but it was in no small part his videos and then Daniel Green's as well, which I was watching at the time, that compelled me to read that series, and that kind of indirectly led me to the job of working on the music for it for season 2. So it's just funny how life works sometimes. It's like you find something that you're passionate about, and it leads you. I sometimes
That's an
like,
interesting journey. I mean, I was going to bring that up. You are also a composer. You've worked on a
yeah,
couple of. You worked on a recent horror movie. I can't think of the name at the moment. I'm really
yeah. It's called Dead Whisper.
Dead
So
Whisper, and it looks pretty
yeah.
cool. I think it's on Tubi, so I might watch it. We'll see.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. It was a really fun score to do too, because you know, we had the resources to be able to hire instrumentalists from different parts of the world, and so it was a lot like there's this kind of ancient evil that lurks on the island. So I used like Mayan shakers and death whistles and all sorts of like crazy exotic instruments that you don't typically see in horror scores, let alone scores in general. So it was really just like a sandbox to play in. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, and I also saw you were like you had a little drum machine. You were playing a Rush song, so I'm like, I think me and this guy are gonna get along very
Oh hell
famously
yeah,
because I also
that's
enjoy Rush.
awesome, man. Yeah.
Have you
That's
read
awesome.
Have you read Geddy Lee's memoir? Because I haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, it is absolutely fantastic, man. I highly recommend you check it out, because really the first third of the book is before they become famous, and he talks about his parents' journey of like surviving the concentration camps and
Hmm.
everything, and it's a riveting story on its own. And then the Rush story begins, but it also gives you a lot of insight into his family and his, the values he grew up with and stuff like that. So you really get to know him as a person. And it's funny. It's like, and this is probably a broader, topic for a bigger conversation, but like the idea of when you get to know an artist, behind the music or behind the books or whatever it is, sometimes it could go one of two ways, right? Like you could either respect and like them more as a person, or you could be like, oh, there's a lot of skeletons in that closet, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And I really felt like I just endeared me more to him as a person, and of course his musical contribution as well. So really fascinating book, man. I think you'd really enjoy it as a Rush fan, fellow
Yeah,
Rush.
I was initially drawn to Neil Peark's. I'm like, oh, drummer
Yeah,
writes lyrics. Never heard
yeah,
that before. Well, I'm sure it happened in other bands, but like Rush is probably like the one a lot of people know.
yeah.
So I
And
was like,
some of the
oh, that's
best lyrics.
interesting. I became a
Actually,
big fan because I listened to 2112. And I'm like, man, it was around the time I started driving, and I'm like, man, this is great.
oh, it's phenomenal. It was mind blowing. And actually, funny story about that album is I could geek out about this stuff all day too,
Mhm.
But funny thing about that album was it was their fourth album. Their third album had tanked, so they basically had one more shot. before they would be dropped by their label. And they were like, we could either do what they want, which is commercial pop kind of rock songs, or we could just go, we're probably gonna go out anyways. Let's go out with a bang and just do something completely like what we want to do. And so that's what they did, and it became 2112. So sometimes chasing your own path, It's,
yeah, sometimes I'll just listen to it. I'm like, man, 3 guys did that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had like technology at the time that like helped it sync together and all that, but like 3 guys did that. All that.
It's insane. And they did it all live too. There was no back tracks, there was no click tracks, nothing like that. Like to the point where if you watch I think it was a live concert from 1981 called Exit Stage Left. And they're playing songs like Xanadu or things, very complex, intricate songs. And it's just the 3 of them on stage, and Geddy Lee is playing the bass, he's singing. He runs over to the keyboard, he's playing the keyboard. Then he'll play the bass while playing the keyboard because he had these special pedals called the Tauruses designed so that he could play chords with his feet while playing the bass and singing.
That's nuts.
Truly insane. Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, I became kind of a Rush nut after that. I'm like, man, this is good. Checked out a lot of their albums. The other day, someone I was on YouTube and someone was like, "What's your favorite Rush song?" I'm like, "Man, there's so many good ones. I can't pick just one. It's hard, And
they evolved so much as artists too. Like Rush 70s is different to the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, and it's like you kind of almost want to ask favorite song on what album, because it was always constantly changing. So
I went with The Garden because I'm like, man, that's such a beautiful song. It's a good little swan song for the guys, I also like Xanadu a lot. Like, I'll just put it on while I'm hanging out at my house or something.
I think Xanadu is probably my personal favorite.
Oh.
Yeah. There's something about that song. Apparently, the take that's on the record was their first take.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. They did one more for safety, but they ended up using the first one.
That is insane.
I know.
Oh, man.
Truly massive. Yeah.
But to ask you about your musical career, you've scored a couple of movies. So like, I hate to sound this because I hate to ask this because I'll just sound ignorant here. Well, I'll admit I pretty much am. I don't really know how film composing works, but like,
sure.
Do you do it yourself, or do you actually like get a group of people together and you like have one of those like little wand things and you compose, or a mixture of the two?
That's actually a really good question. So. Every composer's process is a little bit different, but it kind of all goes around the same way. So like basically I'll meet with the director, we'll watch the film together, talk about themes, ideas, whatever. Then I go off and I start writing the score. And once everything gets approved, I'll send it back and forth with the director or production or whoever it is that's in charge. And, we'll kind of talk about it. And most of those things will be done with the computer they call it in the box, basically, no live instrumentation yet. Because we're trying out ideas, seeing what works, what doesn't, Once everything gets approved, that's when the live instrumentation comes in. So then, I have a bunch of musicians that I know personally that are incredible, and they play on a bunch of film and TV stuff and game stuff as well. And so I'll contract them out usually to play as soloists. Then I'll also work with a lot of orchestral ensembles too. So like, for example, even with Dead Whisper, the psychological horror film, I worked with an orchestra in Macedonia, and those orchestras are incredible, and they're also much more cost effective than LA. Like most even big studio films can't afford to record in LA anymore. It's kind of sad. So yeah, oftentimes you go to Europe and you find these amazing ensembles that don't so.
Well, let me back up. I shouldn't say I don't know anything. I've seen like John Williams and like Michael Giacchino. Kind of. I've seen some things about their process, and I don't know if you play video games much, but
totally.
The Last of Us, I watched the documentary about how they made that game, and they had the guy, I can't think of it. It's like it's like Gustavo Santaola or something. I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But like him describing it, like he did a lot of that on his own, just like creating weird sounds in his like office and stuff. So I mean,
100%, yeah. And so much of that, so much of scoring is that, like for example, on this Dead Whisper score, I found this Thai instrument There's like an ancient Thai instrument called the khaen, Khaen, I think, and it's like a bamboo, instrument that you blow into, and it reminded me of the wind and the ocean. And this film takes place at Cape Cod, so I was like, let's try a non-obvious instrument and recontextualize it and see what happens. So a lot of the weird sounds and stuff I was creating was using that, and then I'd process it, mangle it, do weird stuff with it, and pitch shift it and stuff like that. So a lot of it is that processing. You're almost creating sounds from scratch in a way that are like things that hopefully no one's heard before, something that's unique for the film. And then of course there's a live recording, like, hey, this is a written part, there's maybe a melodic sweeping thing, and you want to have an orchestra play it, or you want to have, maybe you have the orchestra kind of programmed with your computer, and you have a couple of soloists on top to kind of fill it out, make it sound a little bit more lush and a little bit more compelling. Like real humans playing on it always makes it better. So it was a multi-step process, and like I couldn't have done it on my own. I luckily had a team of orchestrators.
Well, I don't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to. Assume you did that all by yourself, because, like, my God, that sounds like a lot of work. But I mean,
it is a lot.
That is. Or I mean, that would be a lot. I'm sure it's a lot of work. Just doing it how you do it. But I was curious of like how you would do that, because, I can't say I've met an actual film composer before. I've known like directors. But these are like people I knew when I was well, I'm still in college, but people I've known in college and people I went to high school with.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting how similar processes are even for different people. I talk to writers all the time, or even producers, and they always talk about like of course the form of the language they're speaking is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that they're doing are different, but their approach is very similar. Like as a composer, you're also kind of a producer because you're managing a team. You're figuring out where to budget for an orchestra, where to budget for soloists, like what you can do to maximize what the producers or the filmmakers have to spend. So a lot of that is producing, actually. And there's like a technical side of it too. It's kind of almost like engineering, right? Because you're programming sounds, you're trying out ideas like that, that is using tech to try to help manipulate the sounds and stuff. So, you're wearing many hats, I think. And so it's always fascinating that, like, I always feel like when I talk to filmmakers or anyone in film, there's always some commonality because we're all approaching things, different language, but same process maybe or something.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a film festival a few years ago with some friends of mine. And you meet a lot of interesting people while you're out there. I met this one guy who was like walking around asking for like funding for like a weird conspiracy documentary he was trying to make. And I'm like, man, I'm 22 years old. I'm going to college. I'm not the guy you should be asking about this.
Yeah.
But
probably not the target demographic for investor funding, but yeah.
It has been interesting because my home state of Oklahoma has been kind of booming in the film industry recently. Like my cousin actually works, I don't know if Prairie Surf Media still exists, but he worked with them for a while. He even showed me and my dad around the like little place that they had. It was, well, not the little place. I know where it's at because they've had a couple Comic Cons there, but it's really cool. It was really quite neat.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. I actually didn't know that. I'll definitely have to pay a visit sometime. I have a couple of friends who live out there as well. I'm not sure exactly where in Oklahoma, but they're always inviting me to their like summer hangouts and stuff like that. And so, like, one day I will make it over there.
Yeah, it's fun out here. I mean, we do have cities for those who think that we're just like living out in like fields and tumbleweeds, but I mean, go out maybe about an hour or two, you'll probably see a lot more, fields and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the same with California, if you think about it. Like, you have SF, San Francisco, you have LA, San Diego. You have some of these bigger cities, but like I drive up to my parents in San Jose all the time. And it's like a 5-hour drive. I'm driving up the 5 north. And it's like, fields and cows for like maybe 250 of those 300 miles, right? So I think it's just like what there's like always the surface layer thing of when you think of a state or you think of a city, but then when you go there, there's like so much more than you.
Well, sure, yeah. No, it's I mean, speaking of, you're in California, or
Yeah,
are you back there now? Because I know there was the wildfires or whatever those were.
yeah,
Of,
yeah. Thanks for asking. Yeah, we are back now. We had to evacuate a couple weeks ago, which was
mm-hmm.
really stressful. We had to kind of like I had to unhook some of my equipment in my studio here and bring it over to my friend's place in the dead of night, just to like, in case our place burns down, like some of that stuff is
Yeah,
salvaged.
I watched your little short about your friend who like lost those like rare instruments. I'd be like, oh man, like
Oh man, I
hell,
was so,
I'd be just shell shocked if I lost like my book collection. I don't know what I'd do if I'd lose like rare, you know,
like
instruments like
irreplaceable.
that.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and it's so sad because my friend Bobak, who did all the percussion on Dead Whisper, actually, and we'd used all these incredible rare instruments that he had collected over 20 years. All of it was gone, like every single piece of it.
Oh man, that's
But
that's
so
awful.
yeah, the music community has been rallying in LA, which is really nice. Like people are going and delivering food and stuff, and like there's a bunch of GoFundMe pages. So I was like, trying to donate to all my friends' GoFundMe's and stuff, and you're seeing like a lot of those are like meeting their funding goals and stuff. So it's very heartening to see that everybody's kind of rallying around the cause. But man, it's been crazy.
I
It's like
know, like January has not had any chill whatsoever.
no.
Like we're just starting the year. Like, come on. I mean, I don't mean to joke about it, but it's like, come on.
The optimist in me always feels like, well, maybe we got all the bad stuff out of the way. It's like, let's get it all up front, and then we can have a better year.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you know what? I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, it's been it's been a crazy year so far.
Dude, I know.
Like, dude, we're barely in this. Come on. No,
It's
but
crazy. That's why books, I feel like, are just such a balm on the wounds, because it's like, wait, when I was sequestered in Vegas at my wife's aunt and uncle's place,
mm,
and we were sick for half of that time because we both caught the flu.
that must have
So
sucked. Getting away from those like wild forest fires. You're breathing easy, and then you get sick. You're just like,
yeah,
God.
worse, man. I was like sleeping for most of it, but I did have some time to read, and just sitting there in the quiet and reading was just wonderful. I mean, that was like really helpful for calming the mind, I think.
Yeah,
So
man. That's always a good bet. Either that or
yeah.
listening to music.
Oh yeah, always. Yeah, those are my go-tos as well.
Well, I mean, I didn't, I didn't want to just talk about books because, like I said before, you have your fingers in a lot of pies. But I was curious though. Like, have you always been a reader, or was it something you kind of came to a little later on, or
Yeah.
is it something you kind of encountered as you went on with your composing career?
Yeah, actually, I've always loved reading from a young age. Like I remember, I remember I have distinct memories of when I was really young. Like I would read the Hardy Boys when I was like 4 or 5, and then I found Michael Crichton when I was like 5 years old, and I read Jurassic Park at that age, and I was just like super into it. And then I discovered
It must have been a
Goosebumps.
trip when you saw the movie, or
Oh yeah,
because you're like, wait a minute, he's not as mean in this movie. What's going on here?
yeah. And I was like 9 when the movie came out, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, so that goes to show how old I am. But not to date me or anything. But yeah, so I was 9 when the movie came out, and I just remember sitting in that theater and just everybody was like deathly silent watching this thing. And you could just almost feel it in the room, like we were in the presence of something, like an important moment in movie history. You know what I mean? Like just watch. It was amazing. But yeah, I read a lot of like Goosebumps books when I was in elementary school. I was obsessed with them. I'd go to all the Scholastic book sales. I remember I used to like reading so much that my parents would have to like, drag me out of the house, like go play with your friends, like go play outside. I would fake being sick from school so I could stay at home and read. And, it was like the whole thing.
Well, I was
Yeah.
That was a similar way, though. It was more my teachers who got mad at me for reading. My parents were like, "Go ahead, son, read books." Well,
That's wonderful, man.
thanks, mom and dad.
Yeah, it's good to have parents who support like something as important as reading. I couldn't imagine my life without reading. Personally.
I'm sure they haven't appreciated a lot of the money I've blown on books I've gotten, but aside from that, they're mostly like, you know what? I joked with them the other day. I'm like, well, I don't think you'll ruin your life reading books. And my dad is like, no, you certainly won't. I'm like, all right. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, what worse things to spend your money on, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I'm very lucky. Like my wife is so supportive in my reading habits because we'll go to like book sales all the time. Even after I proposed to her and we got engaged, we had a couple hours before the restaurant reservation that I had picked out, and I was like, "What do you want to do?" She's like, "You want to go to Barnes and Noble?" So we went book shopping afterwards. So that goes to show.
And you're just like, "Yes, I'm gonna marry this woman."
Yeah, exactly. That's how you know she's the one.
I was like, my decision. I am not regretting this at all.
Exactly.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, but you know, I read like growing up and stuff, but I think high school and college kind of soured me on reading a little bit.
I've noticed that theme with a lot of people I've talked with.
Yeah.
They're like, I read a lot when I was a kid, and I'm in like high school and college, and kind of get drawn away from it. Rather it be because they did a lot of reading in college that they didn't like, and like, man, I want to take a break or something like that.
The way those classes were taught, or the way the reading was structured, it always felt like a slog when it didn't have to be. So your mind starts to associate negative feelings to reading, you know. So throughout my 20s, I didn't read very much at all. Probably read maybe 5 books in that whole decade of my 20s. And then in my early 30s, I discovered the Dark Tower series. And then I was back in, you know. And then I discovered the Wheel of Time in 2019, and that's when it kickstarted everything. Then I was fully invested. I was reading any fantasy, sci-fi, horror series or books I could, you know, get my hands on. Stephen King was my like favorite author at that point, so just like trying to read through his whole catalog. And yeah, it just kind of, I think Wheel of Time was the official thing that made me go from an avid reader to an obsessed reader. Because I don't know if this makes sense, and I would love to know your journey as well for reading, but I know for myself, like I'd envisioned fantasy. I'd read a little bit of Harry Potter. I had read, you know, maybe The Hobbit, but my fantasy experience was very limited. And
did you watch like the Lord of the Rings movies when they came out?
Oh yeah. I was like midnight release, like I was there, you know. Even a bunch of people dressed as Gandalf in the audience, you know, it's like the whole 9 yards. It was great.
I mean, I was alive, but I was an infant at that time to age myself. So but I imagine that was a cinematic event where you're like, man, that's not going to happen again.
I was going to say, it's like, that felt similar to how the last couple of books of Harry Potter was in the midnight releases at Barnes and Noble, like lines around the block. You know?
Yeah, my generation, that was Avengers Endgame.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because I remember when I saw that, I'm like, holy crap, the history is being made here today.
Oh, I remember that very vividly. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yes, right. You know, with fantasy, I didn't realize that fantasy could be urban fantasy, that it could be, you know, epic fantasy, that it could be all these other different genres. You know, you have what's it called? Fonda Lee's Jade City, Jade War. Like you can have like this kind of like Asian mafia fantasy thing. Like it can.
Yeah, you know, I was actually thinking about starting that this year, but I'm like, man, I'm starting Malazan and Discworld this year. I don't think so. Maybe I'll save that for another time. But that's one I would like to get to, because a lot of my friends are like, dude, you like, you know, crime sagas, you'll dig it. I'm like, all right, I know.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Like to schedule. You could schedule things out perfectly, and there's still going to be stuff that you have to leave for a couple years from now. You know? It's
it's just kind of, it's just how it works sometimes.
100%. How have you been enjoying Malazan and Discworld so far?
Well, I haven't started them yet, but I am starting.
Oh, okay.
I am starting not Malazan. I'm starting Discworld in February.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna do a buddy read of a book called If Beale Street Could Talk. So I'm probably gonna do that first, and then after that, I'll probably get to Discworld. So
wonderful.
I'm kind of trying to take it slowly, you know, because Discworld, there's like 40 of them, and that was kind of why I was hesitant to read them for a while. And then people are like, no, they splinter off in like kind of mini series in the big series, and I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'll see which one sounds interesting, and then. Like Guards, I'm like, it seems kind of like a cop show, and I like cop shows, so I'll give it a crack.
100%, man.
Um,
100%. Yeah, I haven't. I think I read. Forget which books of Discworld I've read. I think I've only read one or two. There was one that was like Maurice and the Amazing something.
I mean, I'm not as familiar with Discworld, unfortunately. Well, I'm about to be. I got the book back there, but you know.
Nice. Which one are you starting with, by the way?
Discworld.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Let me pull it out. Guards, which is.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've heard that's supposed to be great.
Which people are like, this is pretty accessible, and you know, it's. I was thinking about starting Mort because
Oh yeah.
because you know, everyone was like, man, death has had such like a profound effect on my life, you know, the death character in this series. And I'm like, I want to see that. I want to see what the fuss is about there. But people are like, no, don't start with Mort. You should start with like Color and Magic or Guards. I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll do Guards. I'll settle for Guards. So
I get that all too well.
That's how that happened.
I feel you, man.
Yep. But yeah, that's kind of how that's how that went. I'm like, I compromised. I'm going with Guards. If you don't like it, too bad. I don't mean to sound mean, but I'm like, man, Color and Magic is like so divisive. Like, I don't want to start with that. It might turn me off of reading the whole thing.
Well, that's what happened to, I think, Mike from Mike's book reviews. Everybody was telling him, was like, I wouldn't start there. And I think he started there, and then he was like, yeah, you know what? You guys were right.
I saw one of his tweets where he's like, you know, I'm reading The Color of Magic, and like, I'm just not getting it. And it's like a little gif of Obama just like sitting there, just shrugging. Yeah. And it was, I laughed. I'm like, oh man,
no.
This is gonna blow up.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I do also have Malazan. I got I call it the airport copy because, you know, it's pretty small, but this is my version of Gardens of the Moon.
Yep, that's the same one I have as well. I got it on Kindle as well because I found it's actually for the first one, I would imagine it's actually pretty chill to read from the paperback, but for later ones when they're all like door stoppers, you know.
Oh yeah.
I just would imagine it would be easier to read on the Kindle. Like I have a Kindle Scribe, and so it's like almost tablet size. So it's just so easy on the eyes that and you don't have to kind of struggle to open the book and, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing with like smaller books is like it can be kind of a hassle to like keep it open.
100%.
Because I know I read the Locke Lamora books about a year ago now, and I was like, man, there were sometimes I had to you know, I had to do some tricks to keep it from smacking shut on me and losing my spot, you know.
Yeah.
Reader struggles, but no.
100%.
They also had long chapters too, so you know, it's just I'm like, all right, I'll deal with this.
Totally. Yeah.
No, but yeah, so that's kind of my plan for. Well, also that, and I'm gonna read some pre-Tolkien fantasy, see what fantasy looked like before Tolkien showed up, and should be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
What are you planning on checking out?
Well, there's a couple standalones like Blood in the Mist, which is a book by Hope Merlis, I think is her name. She was a big inspiration on like Neil Gaiman. Apparently, his Stardust is kind of a ripoff of Blood in the Mist. And I don't know if you read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, but apparently that's a big inspiration on that book as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. I haven't read that one actually, but I've been wanting to check it out.
And King of Elfland's Daughter by Lord Dunsany, which is also kind of like a fairy tale kind of book. And then, well, I have it in an omnibus here, but it's a trilogy. So Gormenghast.
Yeah, I've heard great things about that.
I was gonna start it last year, and then like I read two pretty dense, you know, intense, you know, really have to focus reads, and then I remembered I'm like, you know what? I don't want to put 3 in there. Save it for next year.
So. I'm finding that out right now with I'm reading, you know, because we're doing these 4 read-alongs on the channel, and so I'm concurrently reading Malazan and Jenny Wirtz's Wars of Light and Shadow, and it is, both are brilliant. I definitely have to be very careful to like, go back and forth with them, or like keep things like varied so it doesn't feel like too much.
Sorry, my mom was talking to me. Could you repeat what you were saying? She's like, "We're gonna go bowling." I'm like, "Okay."
No worries. Yeah, no, I was just saying, it's like I'm reading because we're doing 4 read-alongs on the channel right now.
Yes, I think I'm on your Discord, so I know I see you doing some buddy reads. I want to join in on those. I'm getting like serious FOMO right now because my friends at Talking Story are doing the big January read along, and I'm like, man, like I already have. It's like I have Malazan. Yeah, we'll see. And he's like, I'm doing Malazan in February. I'm like, dang it, man! Like, come on.
Well, that's why even for Wars of Light and Shadow, we're reading, as well as Malazan, and then there's the Matthew Corbett series by Robert McCammon, and Bound in the Broken by Ryan Cahill. And so I kind of created this like read-along calendar to kind of stack things in a way that hopefully won't be too much for anybody if they decide to participate in multiple ones, because it's like, I think we're doing Jenny Wirtz series 1 every other month. We're doing Malazan like 3 in one go, and then a month break, then another 2 a month break, and then every single other one is going to be 1 every 2 months, stuff like that, so that like if one wanted to join the read along and they were like a book or 2 behind, they would find ways to catch up.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards
putting more on your plate.
Just put more of it. Just completely fry my brain altogether. I'm trying to get more in on the buddy read thing, but it's kind of hard, It's like it's hard. Like, okay, people, we're gonna get together and read this book.
Yeah, it is actually difficult, like to coordinate that stuff, and of course everyone has like different schedules of they want to read those months, and it's it's always a challenge. That's why I was like, even with the impetus of doing this read along, was like, I'll announce it a couple months in advance, that way more people can plan it out if they want to, and then it's like, then we can just talk about it, and maybe it will be less intimidating, because I know a lot of those series, they can be very intimidating for people. Like Malazan is always the one people are the most freaked out about. Wars of Light and Shadow is also very dense, beautiful characters and prose, but it is dense, requires a lot of brain power. So
have you a bit of a non sequitur, I hope you'll indulge me a little bit here. Have you ever watched The Legend of Vox Machina, or like I
haven't, but I've heard of it.
Are you like familiar with it? Well, every time I look at the Curse and the Mistwraith book, one of the characters looks like Scanlan from that show, Except he wears blue. He doesn't wear purple, because like Scanlan's color is purple. But,
I see.
I just see that, I'm like, God, like it's probably a coincidence, I imagine. But it's just like it's hard to get that out of my head. Also, I don't think that guy's short. He's pretty. I think he's just a normal human. Like Scanlan's I don't think he's a dwarf. I think he's like a halfling or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm really bad at D&D races.
I haven't seen that show. I'm always interested to see like similarities sometimes with like, fantasy series, or you see characters that have similar names, or then if you're reading those series back to back, it's hard to keep them all in your head.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's. I don't know how you're juggling Malazan and Curse and the Mistwraith, but you seem to be doing okay.
Yeah, it's been,
unless you make like a video in a few months where you're like, man, burned out.
Yeah, I'll be like rocking back and forth.
I mean, I did watch your recent video, and you finished 1984, which I mean, it's a great book.
Oh, actually, so that one is part of my February TBR. So I'm going to be actually reading that in 1984.
Well, I was mistaken there.
I'm really looking forward to checking that out, though, because it's been sitting on my shelf for ages. And we were supposed to read it in high school, but it was like I don't know if you had the same thing in high school, but like we had a couple different options of a book we could read.
Really? That's interesting. Usually in my high school, they're like, we're going to read To Kill a Mockingbird. And everyone's like, okay. And then we read Kill a Mockingbird. I liked Kill a Mockingbird, so I was
Oh,
like, this is great.
Yeah,
So I'm like, this is great, you know.
that is a great. Yeah, yeah.
I get to discuss it in class, you know.
Dissect it line by line. Yeah. No, I read. I ended up reading East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which
Oh, really? Yeah, that's a fantastic book.
great book. But I will say, like, I enjoyed it enough in high school, but I don't think I got nearly as much as I would now. So I reread like the first 100 pages recently, and I was like blown away at just how much better it was compared to what I remember in my mind. You know, sometimes you're just like not ready yet for a particular book. You know, I for me it was like that. You know, I was like 14, 15 at that time. So
Sure, yeah. I mean, I read it in like 8th grade, and I think we covered it when I was in high school, but I don't remember now because
yeah,
I don't know. When I was done with high school, I'm like, I am done with high school. Not gonna think about it again.
yeah.
Though there are some times I'm like, man, I miss the structure of high school, but that's about it.
Yeah, college is so different, isn't it, in terms of like how things are.
It's like I'm in college now, and you're just like, oh, I can just like wake up and like just drive over and just go to class for like an hour and then leave, you know?
Totally.
Or you can just be like, I'm gonna leave, and you can just do that. I mean, it's money out of your pocket, but you can do that. You know, you're just like, okay.
That was that was like kind of the biggest adjustment period for me was that, and then it was even more difficult once I left college and I was like trying to do the music thing, and you're kind of in charge of your own destiny.
I'm sure music. I mean, being in a creative field is very difficult, from what I've heard, and from what I've learned, because I'm also trying to do creative stuff, and it's hard, you know. But yeah, you know, I can understand how it's probably difficult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Are you working on like writing or something? Or
Yeah, I've written something, and I'm working on something else right now. So you know, it's all
amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna like self-publish it or publish it because like self-pub has become a thing. So,
Oh yeah.
and it's not just like oh look at this, look how cute, you know, it's a little book. Like no, it's becoming like a serious thing now. People are like there are booktubers who have written books, and like apparently they're actually good. I haven't read a lot of them, but
yeah.
I mean, and you know, you're talking about, you know, it's kind of complicated getting all these books together to read. Like then self-pub comes out, and you're like, oh my gosh, dude, you're killing me.
Trust me, preaching to the choir, man.
Killing me, man. There's all these other books I want to read. You know.
But you know, to your point, man, it's so heartening to see how far self-pub has come along. And it's like I was watching an interview with Ryan Cahill. He was talking to Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, and he was talking about how his approach to it, I really resonated with me. I got a lot out of that talk, because he was talking about how, and I also think this translates to music actually as well. But he was like, when he would have his covers designed, he would have the binding for the book. You know, like he would choose the binding for the book and everything top down. He would try to make sure that you could put it next to any major published book and you couldn't tell the difference. That was his metric for the artists he worked with, the way he got the presentation of the book and stuff like that. You know, and I just thought that was like a really cool way of approaching things, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've met a couple of self-published authors, you know. I mean, Philip Chase, obviously. I read the Etienne trilogy last year, and I thought it was really good. And I'm kind of sad that it didn't get traditionally published because, man, those books were really good.
Incredible! I just finished Return to Eden last month, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that's good. I'm like, I was trying to be careful because I'm like, I don't know if this guy's read all of them or if he's read any of them. All right.
I absolutely loved it. And actually, Philip and I are working on something together regarding that. So I'm writing kind of like an official main theme, music theme for.
Oh, cool! That's awesome.
It'll be in conjunction with the Broken Binding releases and stuff, like the videos.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, he's always been very generous with other people.
Oh yeah, he's my favorite parts of BookTube, honestly.
Yeah, you know, I you know, when I got on his show, Dear Dr. Fantasy, because like I'm one of those guys. I'm like, I would prefer it if someone was going to have me on their show, I want them to ask me, you know? I don't want to be that presumptuous guy and ask them. I don't want to be that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was kind of hesitant for a while. I'm like, you know what? And then I heard like Brian Bell talk about it, and he's like, I've had a couple people ask me, and I'm like, you know what? I'll just say screw it and ask him and see what he says. And I'm like, hey, Philip, I'm not trying to sound presumptuous here, but if you ever have like an opening for Dear Dr. Fantasy, hit me up. And he's like, oh yeah, I was going to have you on anyway. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Oh, that's nice.
It's like, yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, that worked out.
I really do feel like this community is something special. You know, I feel like the people are just so kind and very welcoming. They want you to have a good time reading books, and they want you to have a good time like making content. People support each other, you know. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. Like I think about going back to Malazan for a moment, but on the Discord, there's a couple of Malazan veterans that read the books multiple times. They have no reason to be there except for they're so excited to see other people reading, and they want to like be able to kind of help them through it. If they have any questions, they're there answering immediately. When
that's funny.
It's just so cool. I love
that is cool, but it's funny. I'm kind of doing that right now with the series I like called the Dark Star Trilogy. It's by a guy named Marlon James.
Okay.
And I'm helping John Minton's wife, Amy, with that series, because that's also a series I've not read Malazan yet, but kind of like that. I can say for Dark Star, it's not for the faint of heart. And it's been a lot of fun watching her reactions to everything. So, so I've just been kind of... And then I have to remember, I'm like, oh, did this happen? And they pull out some really interesting interpretations just, that I never even considered. So that's kind of what I like about Buddy Reads, because I'll be like, I'll have this idea, and then someone's like, how about this? And I'm like, whoa, I didn't think of that before,
Oh, it's so great. Yeah,
no, but...
I find the same thing. It's like every time I'm talking to somebody, they'll get something different out of a book, or they'll see a character in a different light than I did. And it just fills out my understanding of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing about reading in general is like, like you and I can read the same book and get two completely different things out of it. Or maybe we'll get like similar things out of it, but we'll have differing reasons for coming to those conclusions.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's just part of being a person, I think, but that's just kind of fascinating to me.
100%. And I think also like books are a different medium to so many others, because you're a participant. You're not just an observer in a lot of, because you're forced to think about what you're reading and like take it in. It requires some effort, and I love movies, and of course I love music, but with that stuff, oftentimes you can sit and let the content wash over you, right? And even beautiful music, right? Like thought-provoking music, but you could just sit there, close your eyes, and just kind of let yourself fall into it. And with books, you can kind of do that too. You can let yourself fall into the story, but it does require some active effort to like be paying attention to these characters. And it's like, oh, this is a 1,000-page book. You do feel like you accomplished something afterwards. So it makes you work for it. It's the entertainment that makes you work for a little bit. And so I think that there's the way the entertainment is kind of ingested, I guess, is much slower paced. And so you just have more stuff to discuss about these little things as you're going, because you're also reading this over maybe a week, maybe a month, who knows, And so I find that fascinating. I don't know if you feel the same way, or
yeah, I mean, it's intriguing for sure. I mean, I don't know about music. It's like when it comes to like I kind of feel a similar way about music. I mean, I've only listened to it. I did play drums for a little bit, though.
Oh, did you?
I did. Cool. Yeah. If you watch some of my videos, and hell, you can even watch some of my podcasts. It's probably still on there because I have several of them. So I'll upload them.
Oh, cool.
So it's probably still there. I don't know, but
yeah,
they were right there for a while, and I didn't play them, and I gave them to a friend of mine. But going back to my point, I think it's kind of a similar thing with music. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you actually play music, so maybe you'll have more insight into this. But like, there's like some music that's just hard to describe. Like, I'll think of like an album I really like Kind of Blue or Abbey Road or something, and I'll be like,
sure.
Hey. And it's like you can't really put to words why you like it so much. It's just kind of this experience, almost like spiritual experience, I guess. I don't know.
No, I agree. I 100% agree, because it's like the albums that are really genuinely put out there, you can feel what the artist was going through, and they imbue that into their music, like they're on their own search, they're on their own quest. Like whether the music is spiritual in nature or thought-provoking in nature, they're on their own quest, and you get to see like a snapshot of where they are at, mentally, emotionally, spiritually at that moment. And so that kind of transfers, that energy transfers. So like it's the same. I feel the same way when I listen to Rubber Soul versus Abbey Road.
Oh, well, I was about to say, yeah, I'm kind of a normie. I just love Abbey Road a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
it's a fantastic album. You can't, it's like not one bad track on it,
Yeah, no.
Revolutionary, really.
Yeah. Oh man, what's another? I mean, I like the White Album as well, because it's just like we're gonna throw all these weird songs on there, and there you go nuts.
I was, as a fellow Beatles fan, I presume, have you, the Living the Beatles Legend book that it came out actually recently?
No, I have not. I'm really bad at keeping up with books about music. I would like to read more like music books, I'm actually hoping this year, a friend of mine gave me this book called The Jazz Ear by a guy named Ben Ratliff. I'm hoping to read, but we'll see when I get to that.
That's great. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I would like to read more nonfiction at some point, maybe about music. But what's this Beatles book about? Tell me about this Beatles book.
I figured you might actually enjoy this because, there's so many Beatles books out there. There's so much, like, the story has been done over and over again. So you start to feel like if you watched enough of it or read enough of it, you go, okay, how much new information is there? And the interesting thing about this book is it just came out recently, and there's so many revelations in it that I didn't know about. And so it's the story of Mal Evans, who was the longtime Beatles roadie, and he was with them since 1961.
Oh wow! So he was with them at the beginning,
very beginning, and he was there until his untimely death in like 1975. So he was involved in the Beatles solo works too.
Oh wow! Okay, this dude's been around for a while.
He's been around, and he was the only roadie in the beginning. So basically, he's setting up all their instruments on the stage and taking it down, doing all sorts of stuff. And then he was also working as their assistant. So he would bring the coffee, tea into the studio while they're working. But you get a keen insight into the Beatles as people, because he got to know them from a very unique vantage point that people didn't. And his role started to become more active because he was always the fixer. He was able to do anything they asked. And got to a point where he co-wrote songs on the Sgt. Pepper album.
Really? Wow. Okay.
So he co-wrote Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Wow.
And he co-wrote Fixing the Hole, which is the other track on that album.
Okay.
And he was credit, and he didn't end up getting any writing credit for those, which was really sad. But yeah, no, it's just a fascinating look into both an incredible talent who is like instrumental, pun intended, to the Beatles' success, but also a very troubled soul as well at the same time. And I don't know, man. I gotta say, like, it was one of the most riveting and interesting, unique Beatles books I've ever read. So,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll have to pick that up.
Add it to your other 100.
Yeah, no, it's obscene at this point. No, yeah, no, it's I have thought about watching like Get Back that Peter Jackson did. I don't know if you've seen that, but I feel like a bad Beatles fan acknowledging I haven't watched it, but
it is 8 hours long, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. I've been really bad with my watching lately. Like, it's just like I started a show called Get Millie Black, which I watched the first episode, and then I'm like, oh, I got distracted with other things. So hopefully I'll get back to watching that soon, because I'm giving money to HBO Max so I can watch it. It's like $2.99. So it's not too bad.
With all the books you have on your list, I'm sure it's difficult to juggle all that and find time to watch the shows you'd want to watch too. So.
Yeah, man, days go by so fast. I'm like, man, come on, like, can they be a little longer? Please,
I know.
whoever runs the universe, could you make it go slower? No, but
Totally. No, if you get a chance to watch Get Back, I think you'd really enjoy it, particularly because you love the Abbey Road album so much.
I
You'll
do,
see,
I do,
yeah,
I
see
do.
them like jamming and just like hanging out, cracking jokes for a good portion of the
I was about to
documentary.
say, man, that was a great album to end on, but I'm like, oh well, no, wait a minute, Let It Be was the last album they did.
Yeah, so actually,
Whoops.
it was recorded before Abbey Road, but it was released after Abbey Road. So Abbey Road was actually the last album they wrote and recorded songs for.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
because I had heard that somewhere, like they had intended Abbey Road to be the last one, but it just kind of didn't work out that way for whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, man, if it had been the final album, like, salute, sir. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't like. I couldn't think of a better way to end it out, but you know.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because in that documentary, you'll see like Paul was just sitting there at one point and he's like just futzing around on the guitar. Within 10 minutes, you see him write Get Back.
Interesting.
See him write it in real time.
That is crazy.
It is so cool. Or he'll be like, they're about to go out for tea or lunch or something. And he's like, hey, guys, just hold on 1 second. And he goes to the piano and he starts hammering out ideas. And it was Let It Be. Stuff like that. Like, dude, come on.
Yeah, no, they're I mean, I do see you have a Beatles shirt on in one of your thumbnails, so
I do, yeah.
yeah, no, I do have like Abbey Road shirts because I love that album cover.
Yeah.
That is one of my bucket list things. I would love to go to England at some point and walk that, but
Oh, you got to do it.
Someday I'll do it.
It's so funny too because I've never actually been in Abbey Road Studios, but I had remotely recorded stuff at Abbey Road.
Oh, that must have been awesome. I mean, so many like iconic albums were made there, like Abbey Road and Wish You Were Here. I think Dark Side of the Moon was made there as well, which is
it? I forget. Yeah, okay.
I think so. I could be wrong though.
But yeah, a legendary studio, and then of course all these soundtracks that have been recorded there now, just brilliant. Yeah.
I was about to say I almost said Rush, but I'm like, wait, no. Rush had this place in Canada they called like Canadian Abbey Road. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was called like Le Studio or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Does that literally mean the studio in French?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And unfortunately, sadly, that place burnt down.
Oh yeah. I think I remember hearing about that. That sucked.
But they'd recorded like moving pictures there, and I think maybe Permanent Waves. I don't remember, but yeah.
I was actually listening through Rush not too long ago again because I was going through their discography, and I'm like, I'll admit I like more of the heavier stuff more than the synth stuff that they did in the '80s. But like, I was listening to some of those synth records again. I'm like, man, there's a couple of good ones in that. Like, I forgot how good. Like, so sorry, Rush. I kind of underappreciated that era.
Well, actually, it's just funny. It's a similar thing for me. When I first got into Rush, I was like all about their '70s stuff, and I did not like the '80s stuff at all. As soon as the synths came in, I was out. But then recently, like over the last, say, 10 years or so, that I've been listening to them, I've rediscovered them again, and I just fell in love with the '80s stuff too. I was like, there's some real bangers in this, like Subdivisions, of course. Grace Under Pressure. That album is just great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like there's that one that Nil wrote about. Well, it was based on Geddy's parents surviving the Holocaust. I think it's called like Red Sector or something.
Oh yeah,
it's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Speaking of Neil Peart, actually, have you read his book? I think it's called like Ghost Rider or something.
I did. Yeah, I did a few years ago. It's really good.
Fantastic book. Yeah, that idea of like trying to journey of rediscovery,
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he was an interesting guy. And I mean, I forgot to mention, Limelight is another one I really enjoy a lot from Rush.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Like it was weird. Like, I mean, I didn't mind the synth stuff, like, in like moving pictures or when they would use it occasionally, like in like Xanadu or something. But like when they really started going with the synths, I was like, okay, like I'll chill out for a minute. But
yeah,
recently I've been like, okay, they weren't that bad, they're growing on me.
Have you ever seen that one documentary that came out about Rush? I think it was like a feature film length, I think.
I'm sure I did. I do know there was a documentary of Rush I watched, and it had like Jack Black in it, and
Yeah, right,
A couple
right.
people.
I think the same one. I forget, but they were basically talking about how in the '80s, Alex Lifeson, the guitarist, he was kind of getting a little bit pissed because
Oh
his
yeah,
role was being relegated to like the background, and he
yeah.
was barely doing any solos. It was just mainly chords and stuff, and the synth was the centerpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, fascinating stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I kind of like those behind the scenes band stuff. Like my dad and I would watch this show. I'm
Mm.
forgetting the name of it at the moment, but they've done a couple of episodes. Like they did Moving Pictures, they did Dark Side of the Moon, which is
Mm-hmm.
probably our favorite one. We've watched that one to where we could probably quote the whole thing.
Oh, and
Um,
that's yeah.
my dad's a big Steely Dan fan, so he watched the one for Aja a bunch of times because he loves
Hell
that
yeah.
album. Um,
I kept singing to myself as we were, because of all those winds and stuff, the Santa Ana winds, and there's
oh
that
yeah,
there's that one line in that song, I think Babylon Sisters or something.
yeah.
There's
No, it's
Santa Ana winds again.
I always think of Steely Dan as like good summer music. Like you
Yeah,
go to the beach or well, in my case, I'll go to like a swimming pool or something and like
yeah,
get drunk. Like that's a good kind of music for that
yeah,
night.
yeah,
And then you're like, oh wow, these guys are really good. They're doing like this weird
yeah.
experimental stuff.
Oh, it's incredible. And they're fun fact about that actually is some of the session players, like the drummer
Hmm.
was Jeff Porcaro. He would play on a bunch of their stuff, and he and a bunch of the other session musicians who were playing on basically half the records that came out of LA in the 70s,
Hmm.
like all records that came out of LA in the 70s, they all joined together and formed a group called Toto.
I
So
actually saw Toto live,
did you?
and I try to say this carefully because I don't want to make it sound like I hate the whole continent, but like the song Africa, oh my god, I just can't. I can't with that song. Now
It's
Hold the Line's a banger. I think that's a great song, but
oh, hold the line.
Africa, I'm like,
You should check out if you like more Hold the Line stuff. You should just check out that whole album because it's just phenomenal.
oh okay, I'll have to give it a
Yeah.
look. I mean, I'll admit I'm only familiar with those two songs from Toto. I'm
Okay.
not like the
Yeah.
biggest Toto fan. Nothing
Right.
against them. It's just kind of like, I just haven't gotten around to listening to them.
I had a crazy Toto story actually that the lead singer on those first few records, Bobby Kimball,
Mm.
do all those high parts, and
Hmm.
they collected, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So he lives in Encino, which is like 3 miles away from me, and one of my friends worked with his wife at like a dog shelter or something. So she was like, "Hey, would you want to meet Bobby Kimball?" I'm like, "Do I?" So I went over to his house in Encino, and he gave me a big hug and everything. He's like, "Hey, you want to see my records?" And he was like showing
That's awesome.
all. And then he's like, "Oh, here, come, let's play some piano together." So I'm like playing piano with Bobby Kimball, and he's singing Africa and like stuff like that. Like,
That
and
that
then
must
he's
have been
like, "Oh,
awesome. I mean, not the biggest fan of Africa, but meeting the guy and actually seeing him do it, that sounds like it must have been awesome.
and he's in his 70s and he's still hitting all the high notes,
Oh my God.
belting them. And then he was like, "Hey, you want to play some of your music?" So I was playing him my music. It was crazy. It was just a crazy time. And he signed my record of the Hydra album, the second album they released, and that's on my. I put that in my.
That's cool that the guys who did Toto were on like Steely Dan at first. I didn't know that actually. So
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
I know Bernard Purdy. I'm a big fan of his work.
Oh, nice.
The drummer.
Yep.
Do like the Purdy shuffle.
Purdy shuffle. Yep.
Yeah.
That was the shuffle that Jeff Porcaro modified for Rosanna.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no, my yeah, it's there's a lot of good bands.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
haven't read Toto though. But no,
Music for sure.
yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Going back to books, if you don't mind, it's
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But like, what are some other books you're hoping to read soon? I mean, I know you said you want to read 1984 and the sequel to Speaks Nightbird. I read that last year for Halloween, and this doesn't happen to me often. Like, I generally am pretty structured with my reading, but that book was so good, and I was so like sucked up in it. Like, it was hard to put down.
Yeah,
They say unput downable drives me nuts. That book is unput down. It was hard to put down anyway.
100%. I ended up just putting the other books on the back burner so I could
That is totally fair, man.
Yeah. Once it gets going, it's like there's no turning back. Robert McCammon is a genius. He's one of the most underrated authors, I think, for his contributions and his ability. But yeah, he's incredible. I'm also excited about historical fiction this year because I discovered it last year, and I read Shogun, and I read a couple poet novels, and
man, that's another one. Shogun. I'm like, dude, it's so long.
It is. I know, it is. 1,300 pages on hardcover. What could go wrong? Font like this, you know. But I will say it is one of those books that's very interesting because, you know, a lot of books, they'll have a roaring beginning, kind of a sunken middle, and then it will have like a big climactic finish. This book is different in that it's just constantly good, you know, and even the ending is not the way you would expect a typical ending to be. Like everything is just like, all 1,300 pages were fantastic to me. It was the year last year for sure. And it's
interesting you say that. It's kind of like that with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I mean, I'm not saying that like all the pages were bangers, but like it was mostly a banger throughout the reading. Great. But there were some moments that kind of lulled them. Like, all right, you know, it's kind of but you know, it's.
I got to check that one out. I'm excited to read some James Michener this year as well because he's
that name's familiar. I think I've seen him at my local bookshop. I don't know.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I saw him around all the time at book sales and stuff, and I never really paid attention. But then I watched Brian Lee Durfee, I think, and he was talking about.
Man, I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Brian Lee Durfee. Because, you know, there were people who were like, man, you should start a BookTube channel. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not good at like speaking, you know. Yeah. And then I watched Brian Lee Durfee. That man's just BSing on his phone. So I'm like, you know what? I can't say anything. I'll do it. If he's doing it, I got to do it. No excuse whatsoever.
I love that, you know, and I love that about the platform actually too, is there's space for everyone and everyone has a unique way of kind of talking about books. Like anything goes, right? Like it's really about the passion and community that we're all building, and we do it in our own way. That's the fun of it. Like I love Durfee's videos. Like I love his, you know, phone drops in the middle of his video talk.
It's like, I'll edit that out later, and then then he doesn't.
So classic.
No,
but James Michener. I started his book Alaska, and I was riveted by it. He's like, it's kind of fiction, but it goes like, oh, here's Alaska forming as a landmass, like from that time until the present day. And then suddenly you're in the POV of a woolly mammoth defending her young. And then they see a mysterious species on the horizon.
Interesting.
Humans. And then the POV switches to humans, and they're trying to cross the Bering Strait. Like, you really get to learn history, but through characters. And he writes so well. It's riveting. And he has like one on Alaska, one on Hawaii, one on Texas, one on South Pacific,
I've seen the one on Texas and like South Pacific. I've seen those ones. That's where I know that from because I always see them. I'm like, huh.
Oh, cool.
No, there's another one where it was mostly a banger. Lonesome Dove. I read that last year and I was just so good.
I can't wait to read that. That's on my list as well. If I can somehow get to it this year, I will definitely. It's sitting on my shelf. But it might have to be a 2026 read. We shall see.
Well, it's fair, man. I mean, it seems like you have a stacked list, man.
Oh yeah, I know. I would love to know kind of how you approach reading. Is like, do you kind of have a structure on how you do it? Like in terms of, do you just kind of pick up a book when you have free time, or do you have like certain times in the day you like to read? Or
it's interesting. I generally try to read when I get the chance. But also I like reading at night, you know, just like when everyone's gone to bed and there's not a lot of sound. I can just crack it open. And now I'll admit sometimes I get distracted by like the internet and stuff. But, you know, I generally try to go for like 60 pages a day and just kind of go for that and see what happens. And cool. It's worked out for me. So
that's great.
That's awesome. As for like planning out my reads, I don't like doing like I'm not trying to like bash anyone who does TBRs or anything, but I just don't do TBRs because like I just feel if I did them, I would feel beholden to it, and it would not be as enjoyable for me. But I do make like mental lists. Like, okay, I want to read these books during this month, but I don't like, it's weird,
Yeah. No, I actually feel similar to you in how I naturally operate. Like for me, I am a mood-based reader a lot of the times. And so, I do the TBR videos because I figured that's a really cool way of involving other people.
Well, sure. I mean, like I said, I don't have anything against people who do those. I just don't do them myself. Now I do like wrap up like what I read during the month kind of videos because I think that's a good way to keep track of things for me.
100%. Yeah. That is actually a really good way to do it.
Also, I'm just obsessed with making lists. So, there you go.
I think like probably after these read-alongs, I might switch to that because that was one of the impetuses of doing these TBRs and stuff is I can do all these read-alongs. I was only supposed to do one read-along on this channel. Now I'm doing 4, so go figure. But it kind of keeps me on track. But I think my natural inclination is probably to do things a little bit less structured in that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, but that's how I do it. I mean, January was actually pretty good reading month, despite everything that went down. Because it was just crazy for me.
Yeah. Been busy with school stuff too?
Yeah, I just started school about 2 weeks ago. I'm actually, funnily enough, because we're sitting here on this podcast, I'm actually doing a podcast class. So, though this guy is very hardline, like we're gonna do like a 30-minute kind of structured thing with script. Now this, I generally don't do any of that. I'm more of like I don't want to say I'm a Joe Rogan because I mean I generally don't talk about conspiracy stuff, but I do like the Joe Rogan kind of sit down, just kind of talking with people and just hanging out, having a conversation like we're doing here.
100%, man.
So that'll be kind of complicated for me, but it's an interesting class though. We covered some podcasts. I actually covered 2 to Ramble on for that.
Oh,
that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because I'm like, this is more structured. I think he'll take this, and hopefully my passion will see me through. I just did 2 podcasts from people I know. So there you go.
I love that. See, that's wonderful. How did that podcast go? Or can I check it out anywhere?
Oh no, I haven't put it together yet, but when I do, I'll probably put it up on here sometime.
Cool.
We'll
Great.
see.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm taking that right now, and it's kind of I am considering sending him one of my episodes just to get constructive feedback, be like, maybe send him a shorter one, because some of these can get a little long, but
yeah. Right.
But it's
always to talk about. That's the thing.
Yeah, and my dad's like, "Oh, so have you done it yet?" I'm like, "I'm waiting a few weeks and then I'll send it to him."
Sure. That's
because
awesome.
I don't want him to go like, "Bro, I'm busy. I can't do this right now." I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. No, I listened. Like, he also has a podcast. Like, he did one about methamphetamine use in Oklahoma, which
it's become an epidemic, right?
Yeah, it is out here anyway. It is. You know how the opioid epidemic is a thing. Like methamphetamine is out here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. Like, they don't bring up Breaking Bad too often, but they're just like, man, before Breaking Bad showed up, like no one knew anything about meth.
Right.
And there was a couple stories in there that were pretty they were dark. I'll say.
Yeah.
They weren't.
Oh yeah.
They weren't fun. So I listened to 2 episodes. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna take a break from this because this is pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But but it's really well put together though. I was like, yeah, it's good.
What's the name of that one actually?
It's called The 33. It's on Spotify.
Okay, yeah, I'll check out an episode. I would actually be very interested in hearing about that because I remember watching this film called Dope Sick, I think. Or was it a TV series maybe? I think it was a TV series. And it was about what is that one? I can't remember the name of the drug that people take as kind of like when they're recovering from surgery. They would
OxyContin?
Yeah, that's the one. Yep. And so it talks about, how communities have been basically ravaged by this, and it's starting as something as innocent as a painkiller for recovery back surgery or something, you know. And it's a fascinating but also heavy watch, but it's great. It's kind of, it's not a documentary, it's like a narrative fiction based around real events, and people who design these drugs and give them to hospitals and stuff. I don't know, it's just very interesting.
It's I mean, when it comes to drug use, it's not a fun subject.
No.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the Train Spotting movie, but even then, that movie's like, look, drugs ain't fun. At least most of the time.
I actually haven't seen Train Spotting. I got to check it out. I've heard great things about the film.
It's kind of like if Requiem for a Dream was a dark comedy. Is how I would describe it.
I was just gonna mention Requiem for a Dream.
I was about to say, because Requiem is like this bleak, intense, like, don't do drugs because this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Train Spotting is more. It does have that, but it's very like it shows like the life of a junkie. Like, it can be horrible and it can suck, but there's not a boring day. Like, you'll meet some wacky characters, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which it kind of appeals to me. I like weird transgressive stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Also, the sound. I think you would appreciate the soundtrack of that movie. It's really quite fun.
I wonder who did it, actually. Yeah, I'll have to look it up after this. I'm curious. That might be the thing that I watched this weekend.
Yeah. No, it's it's a good movie. It's one of my favorites anyway. So there you go.
I remember, when I first moved to LA, I used to go to a couple places called like the Rainbow Bar and Grill, which is like a famous rock and roll hangout. That was, in the 70s, you'd see Led Zeppelin sitting at one table. You'd see Black Sabbath sitting at another table. It was like that kind of a place. And you still see celebrities walk in and out of there. And then there was also a bunch of different, like the Whiskey A Go-Go was a famous.
Oh yeah, that's where the Doors started out. Yeah,
right.
Big fan of the Doors.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and Black Sabbath had played there, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, so many bands, right?
You know what's funny? I'll kind of, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I actually saw a Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin cover bands the other night. It was a few weeks ago, and the Led Zeppelin band was fine, but I was really shocked that they just were like, they played a couple. They even played my favorite one, which is What Is and What Never Should Be.
Oh, nice.
And so they played that, so that was cool. But they didn't play Kashmir. They didn't play like a whole lot of love. They didn't even play Stairway, and I think Stairway's pretty overplayed. But I'm shocked they didn't play it.
That's weird.
I know, but they were like the middle act, because like the last act is this Black Sabbath band. You might have heard of this guy named Zakk Wylde. That dude was insane. Like,
you saw Zakk Wylde?
I did. Yeah.
Oh my God, man, that's amazing. He was in.
I felt like a smuck because I didn't know who he was until like I saw him. I'm like, holy crap, man!
That is so.
I'm not even like a big like Sabbath fan, but he just went off for like an hour, and I was just like, dude, what is this?
Wow.
And apparently, like, he worked with Ozzy Osbourne for a while, and then he's like, I'm gonna start my own band.
Right, that's right. He had a Black Label Society, I think, was his band at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He worked with Ozzy from the No Rest for the Wicked album, like the late '80s onwards, for some of his biggest stuff, actually.
Yeah, my uncle kept like tapping me on the shoulder while we were listening to him. He's like, "That guy played with Ozzy when he was 18." I'm like, "Okay, I heard you. I got you." But
there's actually a really side tangent, but there's some great footage of Zakk Wylde playing at his high school or something in the 80s, like at a high school talent show or something, and he's just ripped. I mean, you could tell like this guy's going places, no question.
I know, yeah, it's just like that dude was like, he was in a kilt and he was just standing up on the stage, just freaking going at it, and then like he would hold the guitar up and like his beard would be like also holding it up. And then sometimes he would just stop and let the crowd just, that dude was crazy. It was nuts. Like, it was one of the best concerts I've seen, like one of the best performers I've seen at a concert. Like, that was crazy.
His beard is almost as formidable as his guitar skills.
Yeah, no, it is definitely ZZ Top levels of like epic beard, No, but like, yeah, that was nuts. But no, sorry, you were saying something about bands. Or no, you were talking about the Whiskey A Go Go. That's it.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we used to play at the Whiskey. We'd play at some of the other places around that area when I was in bands prior to switching to composing. And I remember we'd go to those places, and it was kind of the same thing where it's like, everyone is trying to live 1986 all over again. So a lot of like interesting characters there, and of course like the drug use and all that stuff. And just I was like always seeing it from afar, but it was
you didn't partake.
I didn't partake myself.
That's good.
But, but it was funny to see, because you like that idea that you were talking about. It's like it brings all sorts of characters to that.
Yeah. I mean,
that was always interesting to me. There's people who believe they're going to be something big one day, but they're sitting around like it's like. There's like a level of a little bit of delusion there. There's a guy in the 60s, but he like still thinks it's like 1986, and he's like, "Oh, I was in a band once, 40 years ago." Like, it's like that whole thing,
Yeah, no, yeah. Like LA is one of those places. Like I would love. I don't know if I'd ever want to live there. I mean, no offense,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a great place to live, but I would love to visit there at some point.
Oh yeah, if you're ever in town, let me know, man. I'm happy to show you around and stuff.
Yeah, just be like, here's the Whiskey. Oh, look, there's Sunset Boulevard. I'm like, oh, I've seen movies. Look at this. There's all these movies I've watched,
It's so cool, and I will say...
There's that car dealership in Barrie. I'm like, oh, cool.
Right.
That was in Barrie. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, no.
Was that the one that says Cadillac in big letters or something like that?
I don't remember. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Okay. I was going to say, it's because that one is actually down the street from me. And I know that's been in a couple of films and TV shows as well.
Oh, well, maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I was curious. But yeah, no. There's the one thing I love about LA is actually for the non-obvious things that you can do here. There's literally probably 100 different hiking trips you can take.
Oh yeah, I mean,
beautiful.
Well, I guess I have visited because I've played GTA 5, and Los Santos is basically Los Angeles, and
right.
They don't even try to hide it. They're just like, it's Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But no, but technically I've not been there physically.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you got to check it out one day. I think the cool part about the city is like there's something for everyone, You can go explore the old rock and roll haunts. You can go to the beach. You can go to the desert. You can go to the mountains. You can do all of them in the same day, and they're all within an hour's drive or 2 hours drive. So pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it's really a it's almost a mythical city, kind of like New York City on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
It's just it's weird. What'd you say?
One for each coast.
Yeah, no. And then Texas for us, because like Texas is that weird state where like, good Lord, what hasn't been going on over there?
Right. Whereabouts in Texas have you been?
I've been to Dallas, been to Houston, I've been to Temple, which is like a smaller town.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've passed through Waco.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
You ever been to Austin?
I've passed through Austin. Oh yeah, and San Antonio, because I'm a big history nut. So like I went to the Alamo, and
oh yeah,
it's pretty sick. Like there was a lot of like toy soldiers, and it was pretty awesome. But also just like walking around and being like, that's where they were holding off the Mexican invasion right there. It was pretty creepy too. It's like this old building, It's really neat.
That's fascinating, actually. I've never been down there myself. I've only ever been to Austin for like a friend bachelor party. Went there. That's
fair. Yeah.
So it's a fun city. It's a really fun city, actually. They closed like on the weekends. They would close down like the 6th Street, which was kind of in the downtown area. You just hop bar to bar and that kind of thing. But it's fun. Very friendly people. And beautiful city.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will ask you some more questions about your music career. Is there anything else you're
Sure.
hoping to do for 2025? I mean, I'm sure you're like that. You're allowed to talk about. I should note. I know sometimes there's like at least creative works. I'm not sure how it works with music, but I know there's some stuff that you're not allowed to talk about
No,
sometimes.
all good. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for asking. So I wrote an original song for the Wheel of Time season 3, so that's going to be coming out soon.
Awesome.
That was a really fun experience because the way it was structured, they wanted influences from different parts of the world because so much of that is imbued into both the the cultures within Wheel of Time and then also the music. And so they sourced some of those instruments to have in the show, because some of the characters are playing the instruments, and 3 of the characters were singing on it. So it was really cool because I had to run the session. So I was coordinating, like I was basically coaching the three of the main actors on their singing part.
Oh,
So
that must have been surreal, man.
it was so surreal. It was so awesome. So I got to work with them like directly on recording their parts, and they were so wonderful, and they were the great singers too. Really, really good. So I was thoroughly impressed.
Is that why they were picked to do or did they like volunteer to do it?
See, I don't know exactly how that works because I know that particular song is not in the books or anything. So it was something specifically for the show. I Donald Finn, I think he does like musical theater or something.
Oh.
Correctly. So he has the voice for it already. I don't know about the other 2, but yeah, no, they were fantastic. Yeah. So that was really fun. That's going to be coming out, I think, in March. And then what else? I'm working on a couple of film projects that I can't really talk about yet, but I just finished a short film, which is a proof of concept called The Conduit. It's the same people who made Dead Whisper. And we are shopping it around the studios right now for the feature version of it. But the cool part about that was I got to compose on it and produce the film, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've been kind of wearing the producer's hat as well on it because, we've all got along so well. And they were like, why don't we just form a production company together so we can tell more stories together, and maybe you could produce as well as compose. So that was kind of the impetus of that. And so that is one of the projects we're working on. And then we're also actually on the side sourcing, and this is that whole idea of like marrying your passions together. It's like we're sourcing books, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. About maybe optioning something for adaptation. Probably not anything in the fantasy genre, just because it would be way too expensive to make.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but something that's a bit more contained. So we're kind of scouting some stuff out for that. But the cool part about that would be, I could hopefully find something really cool, connect with an author, and then adapt that work, produce it, and compose on it. So that would be the trifecta, books, music, and film, right? Like that's the marriage of all my favorite things.
Yeah, it's always good. I mean, I think Philip asked you about this, but I'll kind of ask you a little bit about it too.
Yeah.
But what drew you specifically like film composing in general?
That's a good question. I think I grew up in the early 90s was when I was like seeing Star Wars. I saw Indiana Jones. I saw Superman film. I saw Home Alone in theaters, actually.
So like the John Williams.
Exactly.
I'm like, who's making all this? Oh, John Williams.
Yeah. I was like, what is this music? I was like getting this beautiful music from all sides, and I found out all of them were done by John Williams. So I was like, okay, this is just something incredible. And then I saw Lord of the Rings in the theaters, and I was like, that's what made me go, oh, that'd be a fun thing to do as a job. But when I first moved down to LA, I was more focused on the band stuff. And I did my first film in 2012. It was a feature film. It was like a comedy, adventure comedy. And that went my board. And I was doing maybe one film a year at that point. And around 2016, end of 2016, early 2017, I kind of decided like, hey, I really want to pursue. It became kind of a gradual realization. It's like, I love writing. And it was not enough to write an album every year or two. I wanted to do more writing, and I wanted to write different genres, work with different people. And I loved writing. Like, I loved the idea of writing the picture. So I'm like, I'm going to pursue this full tilt. So in 2017, it's kind of when I started that journey. I guess. But it was for me, you know. And sometimes that I know some film composers I know, they knew since they were like really young, like a kid, that this is what they want to do and that's all they want to do. For me, it was more of a gradual realization.
We were like, oh yeah, no, it's
no necessarily like one watershed light bulb moment, but a series of them, I think.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, it's I was actually watching, I don't know if you've ever seen The Patriot, which is a movie Mel Gibson made.
Yeah.
That was like a childhood movie for me. And I'm like, man, the music in this is really stirring and it's like very John Williams-y. Looked it up, John Williams did the score. I'm like, oh, that's why.
Right? Yeah. He's just he's like the Beatles of composing, I would say.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, just he's influenced everyone who's come after, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of like film composing.
100%. Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah.
No. I was like, oh, did he do? It's like, God Lord, what didn't he do? Well, Lord of the Rings. He didn't do Lord of the Rings.
Right. Howard Shore was that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like I like Michael Giacchino a lot too. I'm like, my God, he's so good.
He's kind of I feel like in a lot of ways he's following John Williams' footsteps in terms of.
Now he's like going to make movies now, and I don't know if you watched his Werewolf by Night special he did for Marvel, but it was really good actually. Like it was good. Like it was like. Oh, what'd you say?
Oh, sorry. Was that the one he directed?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I've heard. I remember seeing that he was going to direct something, so I have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It was a great score as well. I didn't realize till like a few years ago that he did the one for The Incredibles, and I love The Incredibles.
Oh.
I felt really stupid not knowing that.
Well, it's like there's so many.
Because I thought like Giacchino was more like a recent guy. Like I thought he'd like come in and like with Up, and then that was it. Like no, he did The Incredibles before that. And I'm like, oh,
yep, yeah.
That's a little embarrassing.
No, I mean it's interesting. It's like you wouldn't think about a lot of these composers before they become like household names. You don't necessarily think about the stuff they did before. Like think about John Williams. He was doing TV movies of the week and stuff for like a decade before he got Jaws. You know, so he did the music for Gilligan's Island.
Really?
Yeah, he did the music.
Seriously, what hasn't that man done? That's ridiculous.
He did the music for Lost in Space. Remember that old 60s show? Have you heard of it?
Man.
Yeah.
I've heard of that, but I've not watched it.
Right. So he did that, and then he got Jaws was his first big like film break.
Man, what a first movie. Like to do that.
He's like, I'm gonna give you 2 notes, you know? So cool.
It's like good luck going to the ocean. It's like, yeah.
Well, it was same with Hans Zimmer. Like he did before Lion King was his big break.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, he did Rain Man. That
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
love Rain Man.
Fascinating stuff, you know.
Yeah, no, it's
interesting thing about Hans Zimmer actually. Just a little aside was you know that there was that one song, Video Killed the Radio Star, in like 1980 or something. It came out. It was like the first song they debuted on MTV. And it was like,
no, I'm afraid not.
But Hans Zimmer was the keyboardist in that. So you can see him.
Really? Huh, yeah, okay.
18-year-old Hans Zimmer playing keys. But yeah, fascinating stuff. But yeah, you know, it's like these people are doing other stuff and then they get known for something. And that's when their things take off. Or you think even the Hans Zimmer sound really didn't kind of coalesce until The Dark Knight, right?
Yes. Man, that score is so good.
So good, yeah. But before that, he did a movie called The Ring. You know that old horror movie?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he did.
Yeah.
He did. That was him who did the music for that?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. There's so many movies where I'll look stuff up and I'll be like, huh, Hans Zimmer did that. Same thing with John Williams.
Yep. They're both revolutionary in their own right, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like him and Spielberg made magic together.
Oh yeah.
Him and meaning John Williams.
Yeah.
If you didn't know that already.
There's a great video footage you can find on YouTube too, is like of Steven Spielberg standing over the piano while John Williams is showing him for the first time a theme for E.T. or something.
Oh man.
So cool.
Oh man,
It's so cool.
it's yeah, I really enjoy oh I don't know if you've listened to any of their scores together, but I know a lot of people know Nick Cave from his band The Bad Seeds, but
That
I really love his film score work that he does with
oh,
Warren Ellis.
I haven't actually heard. Maybe I have. What stuff has he worked on?
Like the assassination of Jesse James and by the coward Robert Ford is one of my favorite like film scores of all time.
Oh,
I love it. It's a great film too, but the score in that is outstanding.
right, right. Oh man, I'll have to check that out. Thanks for. I'm always on the hunt for another good score.
Or Carter Burwell, if you're
Yeah,
familiar with the Coen brothers. I love their stuff or his stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I actually met Carter Burwell at a screening because he
Oh,
was.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I forget what the movie was now. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like kind of an indie film that he scored. But yeah, he was talking about. I think it was on Amazon Studios maybe. But yeah, but he was talking about his process behind that, and it's cool. It was really fun.
Yeah, or I mean, you can just be John Carpenter who just has a little keyboard and just does his own stuff sometimes. Anyway,
I'm gonna make the score, make it one of the most iconic scores of all time. No big.
yeah, it's like, man, dude, how do you do that? It's ridiculous.
So cool. I just love that. I love that. I think because also he was not a traditional composer,
Mm-hmm.
probably served that movie Halloween really well, is because he kind of approached it from a different angle.
He's just, I guess he was just screwing around. He's like, ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, and he made something iconic out of it.
Yeah, no, it's funny how those work. Like, man, there's so many like stuff that just comes up, and it's like, oh, I just made it up one day.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it sounded fun. You were mentioning just that about that Beatles documentary a little while ago.
Totally, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the beauty. I think like I think I saw an interview with Paul McCartney in like 1966 or something, or maybe before. But they were like, at what point somebody asked him a really cool question. They were like, at what point did this stop becoming a hobby for you and became a job? And he was like, well, it's still a hobby. He's like, I hope it will always be a hobby. It's interesting because he was at the peak of his career at that point. 1966 is like Revolver's coming out, and
yeah,
and he's still calling it a hobby. And I think there's something to be said about that like approaching everything you do with that energy of like, hey, that's cool, let's run with that. Yeah, as it's fascinating. So
yeah, no, I mean, I'm that way with like, I mean, I'm sure everyone has that album where they just love it and they just want to know everything they can possibly know about it. Like for me, that's Dark Side of the Moon. I don't know what it is for you, but
that is up there for me. I love Dark Side.
Where you like want to know every like little thing about it as much as possible, and just all the people. Like I didn't know Alan Parsons had produced that until like I watched like the documentary about it.
Yeah. Wait, speaking of which, have you listened to any of the Alan Parsons project?
I have. Yeah, there's a song that's played at the end of GTA 5 that I really like. I forget the name at the moment, but it's a really good song. What is it?
Eye in the Sky, or
possibly. There's also some other songs I've listened to. I need to like listen to one of his albums at some point, but like brilliant producer, put together Dark Side of the Moon, made it into a. I mean, we were talking earlier about music as like a like experience, like just like you close your eyes sometimes, you just let yourself be taken up with it. Like that's me with Dark Side of the Moon. It's like
me too, man. It's like one continuous, beautiful musical experience.
Yeah, it's like, bro, this is great. I don't know if I even understand what they're all going on about, but I get there's something profound going on here.
That's the beauty of that album. It's like, so when I first heard it was probably in high school.
I was about the same time for me. I listened to like end of middle school, early high school, where I was like, wow, whoa. Yeah. Though I've always liked Pink Floyd because my dad's a big fan of The Wall.
Oh, cool.
Which is really strange because my dad's like a, how do I say this without sounding like he's like, he's like a regular kind of guy. We'll just say that.
Sure.
And The Wall is just like, this is like their last hurrah, all the weird stuff that Roger Waters is interested in and cares about and stuff. And I'm always surprised he loves that album as much as he does. It's probably because he grew up listening to it, so there's that. There's always that. But
it's a beautiful art.
It is. I do think I do prefer Dark Side of the Moon because, like, I do think The Walls goes on a little too long.
I think for me, I would agree. I think The Wall feels a little bit like the White Album.
That's a good comparison, actually.
Whereas Dark Side feels more like Sgt. Pepper's.
Yeah.
Put together idea. But, I will say my favorite Pink Floyd song probably is Comfortably Numb.
That's interesting. My uncle and I were talking about that song the other day, and because my uncle's a musician, he does, he'll play stuff.
Oh, cool.
And he's like, I'm gonna do Comfortably Numb. I'm like,
yeah,
good luck. And he was like describing, he's like, it's like such a like emotional song and whatnot. I'm like, I like, it's a great song, but like I get like Wish You Were Here is kind of that song for me. Just like emotional. But like, why is Comfortably Numb your favorite out of the Pink Floyd songs?
That's a good question. So I think the subject matter to me, I find just it resonates with me very deeply, and I think maybe it's resonated with me more as I've gotten older, because so much of it's like that idea of when you're a child, you have this kind of a glimpse almost into the truth of reality, and as you go older, it gets kind of clouded over, and you trying to spend your life recapturing what it feels like to be clear, and that really resonates with me on an existential level. And then also I feel like some of David Gilmour's best guitar work as well. And everybody loves the second solo. Personally, for me, the first solo is my favorite, and it's because it's very few notes, but they're just perfection to me. Like every note.
I think David Gilmour is my favorite guitarist of all time.
I would be right there with you, man.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. I'm like, yeah, it's I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people love like Eddie Van Halen, and I mean, he's great. I'll admit I'm not the biggest, like, talking about songs that surprise you. It's like, it's the real synthy one, Go Ahead and Jump, I think is what it's called. I could be wrong. I'm like, that's Van Halen? What? And that was like a few years ago. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I think Eddie grew up also playing classical piano, so he had the chops for.
Oh well, I mean, it's a good song.
Yeah,
I'm just like, Van Halen's one of those bands. Like, I like the songs I've listened to from them. I just haven't really like gotten into them as a band.
If you want just one album to listen to, that really captures what made them great, I would say the first album.
All right.
It's just like it's one of those albums that like they captured the energy of what made that band so great, and every song on it is a banger, every single one. And I would say it best displays Eddie's guitar work.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
That's a great one, yeah.
But like, yeah, no. But going back to Pink Floyd, I don't know. It's like after like Roger Waters left, I kind of wish they'd have stopped with The Wall. I mean, I get that David Gilmour kind of wanted to do his thing and whatnot. And the final cut, it has grown on me, though I do think still it's a Roger Waters album. They got the whole band in together on it, but
very obviously so.
Yeah. Though there's some good songs on there, but it's just kind of like, okay.
It's not quite capturing the brilliance. I mean, I felt the same way.
But I felt like when they were working together, they really had that magic. It's like when you lose the team spirit, you're just like, man, it's not as fun anymore.
I really admire Led Zeppelin for stopping when they did.
I think they stopped when John Bonham died, and then they're like, fuck this, we can't do this.
Which I felt the same with The Who, actually. It's like once Keith Moon died, songs even weren't the same. Some good ones, but like it's just not quite like
The Who's one of those bands like I've never been able to like. I've listened to Tommy a few times, and it's just like, it's it's cool. I like Pinball Wizard. It's a good song. But I think
Yeah.
like mostly everyone likes that song.
Personally, I would say like the best album they ever did really was maybe Who's Next.
Okay.
That one has Baba O'Reilly on it. If you know
Oh
that
yeah,
song.
yeah, yeah. I know what that is.
And Won't Get Fooled Again. And
Yeah, I mean it's more like Pete Townsend. I'm just like, God, this dude's such a douche. But whatever.
yeah,
That's with a lot of people. Like
he's
I love.
always been a
I
opinion-
respect Roger Waters a lot for what he did with Pink Floyd. Would I like the man if I ever met him? I won't say no, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Seems like he can be difficult to be around.
Yeah.
No.
I think there was probably a lot of that going on. It's like independent, very opinionated artists.
Yeah, sure.
What
Yeah.
could go wrong?
I mean,
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. It's just like, that can be kind of hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard if that becomes someone's identity and they can't turn it off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, it's like when you're working on something in the studio and things are like, okay, we need to really get this great, and they're trying to do something great. I could see that being like a thing that, but if you can't turn that off and you just like that day to day,
Yeah.
it could be an issue,
No, it's what was I saying? Oh, The Who.
Yeah.
I maybe I'll try Who's Next and see if that finally I'll have that eureka moment where I'm like, oh, that's why they're great. But
Totally. Yeah. There's also Love Reign Over Me is a great song if you haven't heard it.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the Quadrophenia album, which is also a great album as well. More of a concept album, kind of like a dark.
I'm kind of a sucker for concept albums. If you couldn't tell, Abbey Road and.
You might actually like that one quite a bit.
Which is why I was attracted to Tom Hanks. I'm like, ooh, concept album.
Right. I know a lot of people love Tommy. I personally think it's cool, but I don't think it reaches the greatness that they would achieve shortly after that. Actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Maybe I'll listen to like Who's Next or something, and then finally like be red pilled on. Oh, this is the
do to get more people into that band. My quest.
Yeah, no, like yeah, it's a good band.
Yeah.
It's like going back to Pink Floyd though. It's I think Wish You Were Here is a great album too. Though there's some songs like Welcome to the Machine. I was like, I've heard some people who are like that's their favorite song. I'm like, good for you. Not really my thing. It's okay. Yeah. I usually skip over it, which is why I think. Which is why Dark Side is my favorite, because it's like there's none you can really skip over. Even like Money, which is a bit overplayed. Like even then, like I'm not gonna skip on to the next song. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel like everything in its place in that album. I feel also a really underrated album I think of theirs is Animals.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just different. It's weird, but there's something about that. Like I used to listen to that at one point almost every day before going to sleep.
And actually, I have a funny story about Animals. The iconic cover with the pig flying over the or like I don't know what it is, the pig over the building.
Building, yeah.
Well, I watched Pink Floyd cover bands with my dad, and we went to see one who was like this Australian band. It was pretty awesome. They had a kangaroo blow up, kind of like the pig. And they blew it up during the concerts. It was just like slowly coming up, and we're like, "What the hell is that?" And then it was a kangaroo. We're like, "What?" It was crazy.
That's amazing. I gotta look that up. Do you remember the name of that cover band?
Oh man, I can't remember it at the moment, but I'll look it up and maybe I'll shoot it to you later on.
Yeah, please. I'd love to check it out.
No, but they had like a pink kangaroo. I'm just like, what is this? It's a kangaroo. I'm like, Dad, that's a kangaroo on the stage there.
That is incredible. Oh my god, I would have loved to see that in person.
Yeah, but Animals is underappreciated. I think. Yeah, it's it's their angriest album, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was a lot of discontent in the band at that point too. But there's something about it. It's rough around the edges, but I just like that, sometimes.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually, because sometimes there's this lady I follow named Sophia Nix on Twitter, and she's also on Blue Sky too. And she goes like, and she'll post like, "What's your favorite movie, but you can't have this song," or like, "What's your favorite band song from this band, but not this song?" And they had
Yeah.
What's your favorite Pink Floyd song without Comfortably Numb? And I was like, okay, let me think about it. One of my friends did Dogs from Animals.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
was like, that's an interesting choice. He's
Yeah.
like, it just kind of, it articulates my very rosy views about the human condition. And I'm like, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Even though he was totally being tongue in cheek there. Cause I'm like, Animals is a really dark album. A little
yeah.
bit. No, but,
That's great.
anyway, I mean, I enjoy talking about music, but going back to books a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Please lay it on me.
So you said you're making so is it like a theme for the Way of Edan, or is it for the Edan trilogy?
It's for the Edan trilogy as a whole, and that was one of the reasons I read all 3 books back to back. I mean, I was going to read them anyways because I just love them, but then I wanted to make sure I read them all before I composed the theme. So
did you listen to his daughter's composition that she did for?
I did. Yeah, it was lovely to hear. And actually, she's going to be playing. Rohana is going to be playing the cello.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's dope.
So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I wanted to ask more about that because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, it's been so much fun. So we're recording that, and then we might record this thing, Indian instrument called sarangi, because so much of that series is influenced by Tolkien, Beowulf, Norse fantasy, but then also
a lot of Eastern stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so we figured that would be a cool way to incorporate some of that. So we have an instrument called tanpura, which is a droney kind of instrument in the background that you hear in Indian composition. So we have some of that. We have some, kind of ethnic percussion from different parts of the world, Viking kind of tago harpa, and all sorts of kind of exotic instruments in there, and like a proper melodic theme. So yeah, I'm really excited for people to hear it. Actually, I think it's going to probably debut on one of Philip's video announcements for an upcoming Broken Binding release or something.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
Well, so yeah, he's gonna, I think, use it for various videos. So it'll be the official theme for his series.
That's interesting. That's cool. I hope that works out. Because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's what I really enjoyed doing. Book related stuff. Actually, I did the main theme for Lightbringer, actually, which was
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was called Lightbringer.
Is that the Brent Weeks book?
Yeah, it was the official companion album, actually.
That's neat.
Yeah, so they got the rights from
how's that work?
Yeah, they got the rights from Brent Weeks, and then I contributed the main theme for it, called Lightbringer.
Okay.
That album.
That's neat.
It goes through the plot elements of the first book and Black Prism. And so it was a blast. And I think that there's so many great series out there, and there's so many worlds that one could play in musically. And the best thing is getting the author's permission and support for it, that it's not just a fan thing, but it's it can be an fan homage, but it's also something that they want to have, that they are asking for, or that they say is this would be an official companion piece to the books. That's the ultimate compliment. So yeah, no, it's been a blast. I definitely want to do more in that space, so hopefully that will lead to more of that kind of stuff. But
yeah, no, it sounds fun. It sounds fun to do.
It's a blast. It really is. Again, that idea of marriage of different worlds,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I actually made a video not too long ago on my channel. It's actually a few months ago, actually, but it was called books I would like to see adapted, and because my friend John had made a similar video, and it was pretty fun thinking about stuff I could see being made into movies.
I wonder if I've checked that one out. I'll check it out it's on your channel, right?
Yeah, it should be. It's called Books That Would Make Good Series / Movies. Or something like that. Maybe I'll link it to you later.
Yeah, I want to see it. I would love to get your take on that, actually, because that's something I could talk about all day,
have you ever read a book and you would be like, man, that'd be a fun score. That would be fun to score for. Something like that, or do you not?
All the time. In fact, I'll pitch on projects specifically that are being adapted, and it will give me an excuse to read the book or the series. You know?
That's always a good bet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess I better read that whole series just to get the, you know.
Like if they,
Oh darn, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. You know.
I mean, like if they do like a First Law adaptation, because like First Law was one of those. I'm like, man, that would be a great like 3-season television series. But then someone was like, but dude, how would they do all those internal monologues? I'm like, you're right. I don't know how they would do that.
But you know, so they're working on Best Served Cold right now.
Yeah.
As a film, and Joe Abercrombie is, I think, writing the script or something. So at least you know it's going to be in good hands. And I know Rebecca Ferguson, who was in Dune, in the Dune movies. She is going to be, and she's also in the show Silo.
Mm-hmm.
She is going to be in it. So as Monza. So that's going to be cool. You know.
That's funny. You know, I saw the Dune movie. I'm not the biggest fan of Dune. Like the book's like fine. I respect it more than I like it, and the movie was kind of the same way. The score in that movie was phenomenal, though.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, the score is incredible. It's like I always call it like musical world building.
Yeah.
You know?
I've not heard of that, but that's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like as much as the visuals were world building, as much as the story and the characters and like what Frank Herbert did there was world building. There's a musical component that kind of creates atmosphere, or it creates like a place for these people to live in.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like about Zimmer in particular is that he'll pull like all these weird sounds, or he'll use all these interesting influences from like that general like American or, you know, mainstream film audiences might not you know, gel with immediately, but somehow he makes it work.
Yeah, no, I think that's the fascinating thing about composing is like you can approach it that way, is this shouldn't work, so we're going to try it. Something interesting will happen, and you never know, you know? And so I think he's really a master at that.
Yeah, like, I mean, I took, my dad and I usually go see movies together. We actually saw Flight Risk last night, which was...
how was that?
It's one of those, like, it was one of those movies, like, I don't know if you've ever seen movies like Cliffhanger. Or like those really cheesy, like, action movie, like, kind of thriller movies from, like, the 80s and 90s.
Oh, 100%.
It's kind of like that, but it's made in the modern day. Like, I remember thinking when I'm watching this, I'm like, man, this would have been really awesome in, like, the 80s, I imagine. But, like, today, people might just think it's goofy as hell.
Right. Well, no, I find those things very endearing. I like those kinds of movies, you know? Kind of reminds me of childhood in a way.
No, I mean, like, but yeah, I've taken my dad to a couple of weird ones. Like, I took him to see The Green Knight a few years ago, and he was just like, what was that, Britton? I'm like, I did want to see Nosferatu, and I'm like, do I really want to take my dad to that? Because he's going to be like, what is this, Britton?
Yeah. That is definitely a weird one, that's for sure. But I got to say, it's a masterpiece. Beautiful. I mean, every shot in it was like a painting. You could like freeze it. You could the picture at any moment, and it's like you're seeing a movie poster.
Yeah, no, and then I heard he's making a werewolf movie next. I'm like,
yeah.
Yes. You know,
I was
very
fan?
I freaking love werewolves. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you read what's that book? It's by Robert McCammon. It's called Wolf's Hour. I think it's about werewolves.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't read it yet, but I'm like, after reading Speaks the Nightbird, I'm like, all right, I'm in. Whatever he does, I'm gonna read it probably. I don't know when, because that TBR is ridiculous, but I'm gonna do it. No, but
Kill you.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. But yes, I do want to see Nosferatu. It just came out on DVD, so I might just.
Oh, it did already?
I've heard it did. Yeah, no, it's.
This is definitely going to be something I'm going to be watching again and again. It's just one of those types of films.
I heard he has a big bushy mustache in the movie. Like.
Oh yeah. That was a point of contention for a lot of people. Yeah.
Which makes sense, because Vlad the Impaler had a very nice bushy mustache. It was the inspiration for Dracula. But you know,
The original Nosferatu. But have you ever seen the original, by the way?
oh yes, long
Yeah.
time ago. And you know, it's one of those, like, I don't watch a lot of silent movies, but like, man, they really made the most out of that movie. Cause like, there's even like photographs of the guy Max Schreck who
Yeah.
played Nosferatu, and they had like photos of him when he was like off, you know, when he was just doing his thing, like smoking cigarettes or something. They're just as creepy as the movie. Like, it's just, I'm just like, you know, imagine walking to work every day and, you know, you're just having a good time. You walk over and there's that guy standing there, like smoking a cigarette, and he's just, you know, standing there ominously.
Yeah.
Count Orlok. You're just like, dude, ugh. So off putting.
I feel that.
I mean, it worked. I mean, it's still like, well, it's still people talk about it, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
SpongeBob even mentioned it once. No, but
I saw a really funny hoodie that I was thinking of buying. It has the Nosferatu face, you know, and it says "Yes, Feratu." I was
I
like,
like that.
my kind of humor, you know.
No, it's I mean, it's a good movie. I like it. It's been a long time since I watched it. I think it's free up on YouTube now. Like, it's so old.
Yeah,
You just pop it up on YouTube and watch it.
that's cool. Okay, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I haven't seen the new one. I really like Robert Eggers movies. I mean, I saw The Northman. I'm like, this is fine, you know? And hopefully Nosferatu will be like a return to form for him. I've heard it's really good, so we'll see.
It's cool. Yeah, definitely, man.
No, but it's as for like books, I'll admit, I mean, I had a good January, but like there were days I would be so busy I'd like either not want to read the book or just kind of be kind of blah about it. So I'm trying to focus on the Yiddish Policeman's Union right now by Michael Chabon.
Huh. Okay.
Until the month is over anyway, and then I'll start reading some more books again. I generally read 2 at a time. So,
oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what yours is like, but that's just how I do it.
For me, it depends. You know, I it's that mood based thing. So, like for example, earlier I was reading 4 at a time, and then I just like, oh, I'm reading the fall novella. It's only 100 pages, so I kind of went through that, and then I was kind of reading through Malazan, Wars of Light and Shadow, you know, Curse of the Mistwraith, and Speaks the Nightbird, and then Speaks the Nightbird just took over my life. And now I'm reading Wars of Light and Shadow and Malazan. Malazan's taking over my life, so I'll probably finish that this weekend. And I'm going to spend the rest of the month on Wars of Light and Shadow. So it's kind of like whatever seems to take over my mind.
Yeah, that's fair. The downside is sometimes you'll be reading a book and then you'll like see another like book being like, "Ooh, read me," and you're like, "Oh, look at that! Oh, wait, I should be reading this book over there." It's you know that is the struggle, unfortunately, with being a book reader sometimes.
Oh, 100%, man. And the hardest part is like, how do you do it typically? Is it purely mood based, or do you kind of have, you know, I want to definitely finish these books in this month, and it just depends on which.
It depends. Like how I do it is I'll be like, okay, what are some months I'd like to feel like reading this book? Because I try to make it flexible so I won't like, you know, feel beholden to something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really just depends. Like, I mean, there are months I'll set out. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna read this during this month. This month seems like a good time to read this, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
But generally, it's more like, okay, what am I gonna read now? It's like, I'll read this, you know. So it's kind of a mix of both, I guess. I don't know.
I definitely wish I had a little bit more gaps in my schedule so I could read a little bit more. Like I could just pick up that James Michener book right now, you know. But I you know what I might end up doing honestly is I'll probably start incorporating books into my schedule that were like not on my official kind of read along schedule, and just read it over a couple months or read it over 2-3 months, you know, especially a longer tome like that, 1,000-pager or whatever. Just read it over 3 months, and that way I can kind of start working on books that I feel in the mood for, and also keep to the schedule for my read along stuff. So I don't know. It's a gamble.
Oh man. Living the Beatles legend. I see you made a video about it. Okay. Yeah, neat.
Yeah, I'm like super into it.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to look at that when at some point. That's the thing about BookTube. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like reading a lot. It's like there's just more that pop up, and you're like, ooh, look at that.
Yeah.
I want to watch this. Like, there's people I'm really good friends with, and sometimes I just forget to watch the videos. I'm like, dude, there's so many videos going on right now.
I know, and sometimes they'll all come in a burst, you know?
I know, yeah.
Yeah. That's like
I'll put out something on Friday, because I generally upload on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then sometimes people just, like, not show up, and I'll be like, man, all right. I do it for enjoyment, so it's like, it's fine, but, like, I do want people to watch them at the same time, so that's a struggle.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Is this one live streaming, or is this one going to be posted later?
This one will be posted later.
Got it. I see. Cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, I have a couple on the back burner, so this might take a minute to get up and out there.
No, all good, man.
There's some people who are like, is it up yet? And I'm like, I'll let you know, I promise. It's just, I have a couple on the back burner. It's not that I have ignored you.
No, all good, man. All good.
I'm not saying you would do that. I've had a couple people who are like, is it up yet? Like, I haven't seen anything. And I'm like, no, it's just, I'll let you know when it is. Just, it's okay. Yeah. Also, I did want to ask, is that a Johnny Cash shirt you're wearing?
No, actually. I don't know if you've ever seen Seinfeld.
Oh, is that Kramer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Looking at the same time. Oh. He's good all the time.
Oh, well, he kind of looked like Johnny Cash there for a minute. I mean, I'm wearing my Breaking Bad shirt, so there you go.
Oh, nice. That's how many times have you seen Breaking Bad more than once?
Oh yeah, I've seen it like 3 or 4 times.
Oh yeah. Me too. I'm all about that show. Freaking love that show.
Also, good music as well in that show.
Oh, incredible! Dave Porter is a legend. He's so good. I mean, it's such a unique style too.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Have you seen Better Call Saul?
I have, yeah. Yeah, it's really good. I did start watching it with my family. I would like to finish it with my family. I have finished it on my own, but I'd like to finish it with my family.
Oh, that would be fun. I wish I could get my parents to watch it. They're not really into it as much. My dad liked it, but it's not something that they would want to watch together, you know?
You're just like, oh man, what's going to happen next? You know?
And my mom doesn't like swearing.
Okay. That's fair.
Like, she doesn't like watching those types of shows.
Yeah, my grandma's the same way. Like one time, I was telling her about The Walking Dead, just kind of, sharing my enjoyment of the show, and she watched like an episode. She's like, I just couldn't do it. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
My grandma, she's a sweet old lady. She doesn't do much.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? You don't have to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandma watches all sorts of stuff. Like she'll like, I remember when I was like 8 years old or whatever, my grandparents were staying at our house, and I went downstairs into the family room to like hang out with them. They were watching The Exorcist. I will tell you, scarred for life. I was so scarred by that experience. But then just watch whatever,
I was raised Christian, so like those demon possession movies, man, I can't do them. They're just brutal. They're spooky, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that particular film is like, I feel like it is spooky on many different levels.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie.
Great. Yeah.
It's like The Omen. Like that one scarred me for life when I was younger.
Yeah. My dad was actually when he was doing his graduate degree. This was in the 70s. He was an usher at a movie theater, and so he was
cool.
there. Yeah, he was there when The Exorcist was playing, and he said like people were fainting and like throwing up and stuff.
Oh,
it's like nobody had seen anything like that. Could you imagine like the 70s?
Yeah, I know. Like imagine watching that in the 70s.
People are like,
it's actually one of my favorite eras of movies. Everyone's always talking about like the 80s. I'm like, yeah, 80s are fine, but like the 70s, like. That was a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Great for me, time. Anyway. There's a lot of great movies in that time.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
No, but, yeah. Godfather came out during that decade, which is also based on a book. I haven't read the book.
I haven't either. Yeah, I've been wanting to read it, actually. But I've heard, I think Mike had read it, I think a couple years ago or something. He was saying that it was fantastic.
Yeah, you know what one of the weird things for me is that Mario Puzo, who wrote The Godfather, also helped write the script for Superman.
Really?
He did, yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh,
Uh-huh.
wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
It's like, yeah, that's interesting.
Something new every day. Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah, it's I really like I'll admit, I mean, I love comics. I mean, that's actually how I started reading, was like I liked the illustrations. I'm a big I like illustrations for whatever reason.
That's
And which is
cool.
probably why I still read comics now.
Which are your favorites to read?
Um I was gonna say before I answer that question, like
Okay.
I'm not the biggest Superman, but I just have a real soft spot because it was one of the first movies I remember watching. Is that original Superman with Christopher Reeve in
Oh,
it?
what a movie! I
And I'm
love
like,
that movie.
that's Superman right freaking there.
Yeah.
That's I get real. It's just like I mean, I'm sure like today there's some people might go like it's a little goofy, but like Superman's a little goofy, so I mean it's all right.
I think those movies still hold up. You know.
Oh no, yeah, sure. I mean, the first two at least do. I haven't watched
Yeah.
like three.
Not as much. 3 and 4.
I've heard Quest for Peace is not as good, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
I gotta watch those again. It's been a while.
No, what are some of my favorites? Well, I mean, I really like Batman, and well, we Batman fans have been eating well. There's been a lot of great movies and stuff.
Tons. Did you watch the old Batman the Animated Series? By the way?
Oh, it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, I love it so much. I actually bought the 30th anniversary edition they sent out a few years ago.
Oh, that's amazing.
Even though it was on HBO Max and I could just watch it on there.
Yeah.
I had to get it. I'm like, can't say no to that.
So
I love that whole like universe. They got like the Justice League and even the Superman cartoon was a lot of fun.
Yeah. You know what that reminds me? I think it's time to go down memory lane in the coming weeks. I think I'm gonna start watching those things again. Yeah, all the stuff we've been talking about, I'm like making mental notes. So I'm definitely going to be checking some of those out because it's like it just reminded me. It's like sometimes they make an indelible impression on you, but you're going through life, seeing other things, and then you're reminded of it. And you're like, yeah, I remember how much I love that. I want to go check it out again.
I mean, I also like Spider-Man, which same thing. Which, speaking of favorite composers, big Danny Elfman fan.
Oh yeah,
he's friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Did 2 iconic scores for superheroes, which is
that's
great.
right. Yep, and Simpsons.
He did The Simpsons. That's right. I sometimes forget that he did The Simpsons.
And he was Jack in and did the music for Nightmare Before Christmas.
He was, yeah, he was. It's yeah, he's great. I love Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, there's other comics I enjoy that aren't like Marvel and DC, like Preacher and Transmetropolitan and
oh, cool.
I like the Sandman and what are some other ones? I like Invincible a lot, which is
I love Invincible.
I don't know if you've watched the show, but the show is incredible, and I might even dare say it. And I love the comics. I got them right there. But like, they might even do some things better than the comics.
I haven't read the comics, but the show was incredible.
I know. I'm just like, that's how you make superheroes, right there. Yeah, right there.
I haven't seen anything quite like that, actually.
No, it's fantastic. I'm very anxious to see season 3. I'm just like, man, I'm clawing at the bits for it,
Yeah. When is that supposed to come out?
The February the 6th.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Which is surprising because it took like a long time for season 2 to come out.
Right.
They put season 2 out in 2 parts. And I'm like, oh, why? No.
They do that. I love it and I hate it. It's like
It's like when Breaking Bad, though I started watching it towards like the tail end of it, but like season 5 they split it in 2 parts. I'm like, oh, that must have been agonizing.
But at the worst possible time. It's like the worst possible cliffhanger.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Oh man, but no, it's it's just kind of. There's a couple others. of comic book adaptations of comics I would like to watch at some point. Like Sweet Tooth is on Netflix. I'm
Oh
wanting
yeah,
to
yeah,
watch that for a while, and it just hasn't. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Seeing it. Yeah, yeah.
But no, it's But yeah, it's I like superhero stuff a lot, but I like other things as well. I'm trying to get more people in the BookTube sphere to read comics. Now, is it succeeding? I'm not sure, but I'm trying.
Have you read much manga?
I have read some. I've read like Berserk, which is
Oh, yeah,
like the freaking darkest thing I've probably
yeah.
ever read in my life. I'm just like, man, this makes Joe Abercrombie and George R. R. Martin looks like child's play compared to Berserk.
Gee,
Holy
wow.
crap.
Yeah,
I've read like Naoki Urasawa's stuff, like Monster and
mm-hmm.
Pluto.
Read any manga myself. I was planning on starting One Piece this year. I don't know.
Good luck with that. I haven't read One Piece yet. It's like,
Only
dude.
Ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like it's massive, man.
Yeah, no, I know. I figure I'll just read it over, 20 years or something.
Well, that's what some people have been doing. I'm just like, man, it's a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
But then again, I was the same way about Berserk, and then finally I just kind of got over it, and well, there you go. Berserk's really good. So
yeah.
No, it's just Berserk is not for the faint of heart, is all I'll say.
Yeah, so I've heard. My wife loves Berserk. She's read that. Jujutsu Kaisen is one of her favorites as well. I haven't read that one.
I don't think I've read that one either or heard of it.
She loves Uzumaki and all that.
Like I don't watch a lot of like anime, but there's some like Cowboy Bebop's probably my favorite anime of all
cool.
time.
Yeah.
Which, they have a lot. There's a place called the Tower Theater where I live in Oklahoma City, and it's kind of where they play bands and stuff. That's where I've seen a couple of those Pink Floyd cover bands I was telling you about.
Yeah.
They were gonna do a Cowboy Bebop. Like I don't know if it's a cover band or if it's just people who play the music, but I love the score in that show.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we'll see.
Score is great. It's very unique.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, I don't know if you've had, like, a book or thing like this or a movie or whatever, but it's, like, one of those things that just feels specifically made for me,
Yeah, totally. I would say, for me, the books-wise, Dark Tower. I feel like it was speaking to me at a time when I was ready to listen, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, Dark Tower is interesting. It's kind of a hard sell, because, like, the first book is so out there.
Yeah.
But, like, man, I think it's one of the gutsiest fantasy series that I've ever read in my life.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It's just
100%.
Which, like,
we'll never,
Oh, what'd you say?
We'll never see anything like it again.
Oh, no. It's like, there's those fantasy books that are in, like, certain traditions, like, sword and sorcery and, epic fantasy and high fantasy and whatever. Dark Tower's is like, we're just going for it.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's just such a mashup, and it's so meta. Has such great connections to a lot of Stephen King's larger works, and it's just something else, man.
It's like his magnum opus, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Did you hear actually that he teased that he's working on something that is related to both the Talisman and the Dark Tower? Another book.
Really? I've heard, like, I did hear he was working on something about Talisman, which is one of the few King things I haven't read.
Yeah.
It's weird. I went on a huge, like, Stephen King binge, like, when I was, like, 16 years old, and it was nuts. I read a lot of the famous ones and a lot of the ones he, like, put out now, and still cranking them out like it's going out of style, man.
Oh, there's another one coming out in May called Never Flinch.
Oh, yes. So many.
The Holly one. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of Holly Gibney books? Have you read much of those?
Which books?
The Holly Gibney ones, like Mr. Mercedes trilogy.
I haven't gotten to them yet. I do own Mr. Mercedes and The Outsider. I wanted to read The Outsider, but
I would recommend you check out the Mr. Mercedes trilogy before The Outsider.
All right, I've heard a couple people say that.
Yeah. And the trilogy is fantastic.
But I enjoy I enjoy most of King's stuff that I've read. There's a couple of his stuff like the Tommyknockers where you're like, man, you were really going off, man.
Yeah. You could see the drug use, you know, it's like
Yeah. Drug use was not treating him nicely. I mean, he still has a wild imagination even without the drugs, but
exactly. Drugs were probably slowing him down at some point.
Yeah. It's it's one of my but yeah, no, going back to the Dark Tower, it's one of the like gutsiest things I've ever read,
Yeah.
It just does things that like other fantasy would not even dare do.
Right, yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I completely agree. Beautiful series. I'm on a reread right now. I got to read the 7th book at some point. And I'll probably restart it again at some point because it's just so good.
Well, it kind of makes sense actually cuz it is a loop.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But no, it's I need to reread that. I need to reread Game of Thrones. Like, man, the TBR is ridiculous enough as it is, and then the rereads are even more ridiculous. You're just like,
yeah. Too difficult, man.
Oh.
I was gonna reread the Stormlight Archive series in anticipation for Wind and Truth. I ended up only reading the 4th book, but that was actually really helpful for it. But yeah, it's just like there's no time to read as much as we'd want to, let alone all the rereads.
I haven't read Sanderson yet. I am thinking of like maybe trying like Warbreaker or something, or one of his like standalones. Maybe
I would say honestly, if you want something that even feels like a standalone, the first Mistborn Era 1 book, like the Final Empire, is actually a really good place to start because it's one of his more accessible works, but it also has the deep magic system that he's known for and the characters and everything. But the way it works is like, of course, it opens up to a wider world for the 2nd and 3rd entries, but the first one could be read on its own, and you could stop there and then decide if you want to continue. Like that's totally valid,
Yeah, I have thought about trying Mistborn because it's
Sure.
Well, no, I mean, I'm interested in the concept because I'm a big like high concept guy. So like I've heard it's like, what if the Dark Lord won? I'm like, oh, that could be fun.
Yeah.
I want to see what that's all about. So there you go.
And the magic system is actually not overbearing. It's really
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I hate to cut this off because I mean, I've had a really great time talking with you today,
dude. Likewise, man.
But I do have to go. I have other things I want to do today. But we should do this again at some point, and I'm really glad we got this together because like it took a minute because I'm like, hey, you want to come on? You were like, yeah, and then the fires happened. I'm like, hey, if you want to like hold off for a little bit because of these fires, that's fine. And then it finally happened, so we're good. And
I'm so glad we got to do this, man. It's a real pleasure talking to you. I feel like we could have talked for hours. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Really fun, man.
As I like to do before the end of these, if you have any social media, feel free to share.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So you can check me out at Shelf Esteem, and that's my BookTube channel. And then my music, I guess, related Instagram, you can find my music and anything book related that I post there too. And that's at Nikhil, Nikhil K Music. You can find me there. Or TikTok as well, Nikhil K Music. So thanks so much.
All right. Sorry, I got distracted with something real quick.
All good.
But
okay.
I hope everyone enjoyed this, and thank you so much for coming on, Nikhil. It was very fun having this conversation, and we should definitely do this again at some point.
I would love that. It's been such a blast talking with you. I really appreciate you taking the time and having me on. And yeah.
Well, likewise, my friend. Well, until next time, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and well, not really much else to say. All right, take care, everyone.